live on LinkedIn, we'll never know. We are live on Rumble, we're live on YouTube, we're live on X, and LinkedIn is good. Facebook is now active. Good morning, everybody. I've been up since 1:30 this morning. I go to bed pretty early, but I kept waking up like every hour, checking my phone because I'm going to tell y'all straight up from the beginning. I was checking my phone every hour because I was looking at the interactive map. I was first looking at NPR's interactive map. And we're going to talk about those maps in a second because there were some funny things that happened with those maps. We're going to talk about that today. And I kept looking at it. And then by the time I got to about 1:30 a.m., I was just waiting for them to just give me the states because there was a few states that were, They were just the battleground states. They were just trying to figure out who was going to win. So my state of Florida is allegedly a battleground state, but Trump pretty much smashed that one. So I'm looking at the stats. He won that one more than he won any other battleground state. So 56% in Florida to Kamala's 43. So he won that one pretty easily. Then the states that we were really watching were North Carolina, which he won pretty early in the day. Pennsylvania, which we were waiting on because they had 19 electoral votes. Wisconsin, which is a big one. Also Georgia and Michigan. Well, Trump won all of them. He won all of them. Only battleground states Kamala won was New Mexico, 5 votes, Virginia, 13 votes. And she won that one pretty solidly. That was actually the most solid one she won was Virginia. No, New Mexico was the most solid, only 5 votes. Virginia, 13 electoral votes, and New Hampshire was only 4 electoral votes. Those are only 3 that she won. Trump won all the rest. Arizona has yet to be called. They only counted 61% of the votes. Who knows what they're doing? This is the shenanigans they did in 2020. We're going to get into that in a minute. But they didn't call Arizona yet. It's only 61% of the votes counted. How? Everybody else is at 97% and up. The state of Michigan, according to NPR, has already counted 97% of the vote. Trump is up by about 1.5%. They still have yet to call the state of Michigan. What the hell are they waiting for? Then you got the state of Nevada. They've only counted 84% of the vote, but Trump is up by 5 points. They haven't called that one yet. And the other ones they've called. So those are only 3 they haven't called. But guess what? It didn't matter. Because Trump won Wisconsin, he took that back from what Joe Biden, quote unquote, won in 2020. We're going to get into that in a minute. He took back Pennsylvania. That's my state where I actually come from. I'm from the city of Philadelphia. He took back the state of Pennsylvania. He took back the state of Georgia. All 3 of those were flips from the last election. And that's basically the difference. Those 3 flips right there is how this all changed. So we're going to talk about those maps in a second. So first of all, let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete. I'm author of 35 books. These are some of my books you can see here behind me. I've done 4 TEDx talks. I created this brand called Work on Your Game. Our job here is to help professionals, salespeople, entrepreneurs perform at your best, do it consistently, and produce more results, which usually means making more money, more sales, more success. That's what I do professionally. That's not really what we're talking about here today. We're talking about the current event of Donald Trump winning this election. And I'm glad that he won for several reasons. One, it gives people like me plenty of stuff to talk about. Because if Kamala won, we still have something to talk about, but not as much as we're going to have to talk about with this. So, by the way, I will answer all questions and comments at the end of me getting through my points. So if you leave a question or comment while I'm talking right now, I might not see it, especially those of you on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, there's so many notifications coming through the screen while I'm talking that I won't see the ones y'all posted now. But if you wait till I'm done, I will address your questions and comments. I answer all questions and comments as long as you have something of substance to say. Now, don't be trolling me, but otherwise I will respond. So first, let's talk about these maps. Let's talk about these interactive maps because I was following 3 different maps because I just wanted the real-time updates. And you know how these maps work, right? So you go to the map and it just automatically refreshes on its own. So you don't have to refresh the page or anything. You just leave it there and it just updates on its own every few seconds or minutes. And the NPR map, I had one tab open for the NPR map. I had another one for the New York Times map, and I had another one open for the CNN map. And you want to know something interesting? You want to know something interesting about all 3 of these maps is that when Donald Trump got to, because y'all know to win an election, you need 270 votes. That gives you a majority because it's 538 to win. Once you get 270, you basically have a majority. That means it doesn't matter what other ones get won, you can't lose. So once you get 270, game over. Donald Trump got the 267 votes, all right? He had 267 electoral votes. And the big one was when he got Pennsylvania because I was watching it. I was like, man, he's only like 27 or so votes away. When he got Pennsylvania, it was only a few more that he needed to get. I said, when he gets Pennsylvania at 19, any one more state, the game is over. Now, here's what was happening because I'm looking at the map right now, the NPR one that I was watching all night. At the time, they hadn't yet called the state of Alaska. So the way they do it, so if you look at this map that I have here, so this is the NPR interactive map. So they got the whole country that you can see on the map, and they tell you what number it needs to be gotten to. And then they have the competitive states, and there's only about 10 of them, or 11 or 12. They got the competitive ones. These are the ones that really matter. Then they got the ones that are likely going to be Democrat, because they always are. And those are the list. Kamala won all of those. And then you have the ones that are likely Republican, and Trump won all of those. Now, the thing is, when Trump got the 267 votes, he was at 267. So he only needed 3 more for it to be pretty much done. And all the media outlets to pretty much say, all right, Trump won is a wrap. Here's what happened. Here's what happens. I was watching this map. I just kept watching it, and I'm like, map's not changing. They're not updating the numbers. Alaska was not yet counted. They hadn't yet called Alaska. Alaska is a likely Republican state. Alaska has not voted Democrat for 60 years. They vote Democrat every election. And I was watching this map from the beginning. They started updating the map around 7 p.m. Eastern time. And I was watching it I've been watching it the whole time since then. And they were calling Democratic states for Harris before they even had the number updated, a percentage of votes in. It'd be like 10% of votes in, and they automatically put it as Kamala is going to win that state. So let's take a state that she wins all the time. So some of these states she won very easily. Like the state of Vermont, Kamala had 64%, Trump had 32%. When that was at like 10% of voters had already voted, they already had counted 10% of the vote in the state of Vermont. They put it as Kamala won. They didn't even wait until they got more votes because they knew she was going to win. And on the flip side, you take a state like Alabama, Trump, the Republicans always win that. 64% to Trump, 34% for Harris. As soon as it was like 10% of the vote, they updated the map and said Trump has won the state of Alabama. They didn't even bother to wait to see what the numbers were actually going to be. So this is an interesting thing because Trump only needed 3 more electoral votes for everyone to have to say this is over. So when Trump got the 267, and Alaska still wasn't in, all they had to do was say Trump's going to win Alaska. Alaska has never voted on the left for 60 years. Why don't they just give him Alaska? But if they gave him Alaska, then that means they would be saying Trump won the election. NPR, New York Times, CNN, none of them updated that map for hours. I just want that point to sit with you. For hours, they did not update that damn map. They did not update the map. And I'm looking at it, like, why are they not updating the map? Why don't they just say that Trump won? They wouldn't say that Trump won. And somebody said Trump got 277. Yeah, I know he got it now, but for hours, I'm talking, it was like about 12:30 a.m. until about, I finally got out of bed at about 3 o'clock because I was like, I'm not going to sleep anymore. I got out of bed at 3. I usually get up about 3:45 anyway. So that's not that early for me, but I got out of bed at 3 o'clock. I'm like, I'm not going to sleep anymore. They still hadn't updated that map. They didn't update the map till I left the gym this morning, which was a little bit before 7 a.m. Eastern. Then I looked at it, and now they have it, as you can see now. Now they have him as 277 votes. Trump has won the election. And then the New York Times interactive map, same thing, 277. Kamala is at 224. And then CNN had this, they had it in their app. So in the CNN app, they have this, what they call it, the magic wall, where they were showing, let me see if I can find it. They still have the magic wall. Yeah, so CNN has this thing called the magic wall on their app, and they have Trump at 276. So maybe there's a couple states where they split the votes up, smaller states. So I guess they didn't add that one in, but they have Trump 276 and Harris at 223. They didn't update this map so early this morning, like normal early, like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. They did not update this map for hours because they didn't want to admit that Trump won the election. And why am I pointing that out? If you follow me on Instagram, actually, I posted this on TikTok also this morning. This right here, just this point alone, that they wouldn't update the damn map to say that he won the election, tells you everything you need to know about the fucking mainstream media. If you didn't figure it out in 2016, that's when I got my red pill in 2016. So if you didn't get red pilled in 2016, and you didn't get red pilled in between 2016 and 2020 when Trump was president, and they kept putting all the nonsense out about everything he did or did not do. If you didn't get it during 2020 with the whole COVID situation and Biden, quote unquote, winning the election with the most votes ever in the history of elections, okay, whatever. And you didn't get it from 2020 to now. If you didn't get it when they did all the lawfare and all the court cases against Trump, all of which are going to collapse now because he won this election. We're going to talk about that in a minute. If you didn't get it in all of that time, you should get it just from the point that I just gave you. The mainstream media is not to be trusted. Some of you had to hear it more than once. I had to hear it more than once. Again, I was on the blue pill back in 2016 when Trump first ran. I did not vote for Trump. I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016 because I was on the blue pill. I believed everything the mainstream media told me, that Trump was a racist and he's trying to claim Obama's not from America, which was a crazy idea, and that he is a misogynist and that he's xenophobic and he doesn't want immigrants and he's just a terrible guy. And anybody votes for him, black people are going to be back in change. I believed that. And then when he won the election, I said, it's impossible to half the country thinks that way. That doesn't make sense. I said, maybe 10% of the country, maybe 20%. But when he won, that means half the people voted for him. I said, that's impossible. And that's when I stopped listening to the mainstream media. That's when I started listening to people like me, people who create content and people who independently have their own platforms, and listen to what they said. And I started listening to people who were supporters of Trump. And I realized, okay, these people are not crazy. These people are not racist. These people are not xenophobic. These people are not misogynist. These people are not hateful. They just have a different opinion. Okay, maybe I'm the idiot. Actually, not maybe, definitely. I was the idiot because I got fooled by the mainstream media into thinking things were one way when they were actually another way. Thank you, Maria, for the roses over there on TikTok. This is when I got red pilled. So I got red pilled relatively quickly, but that was 2016 after the election. I voted for the other candidate. After the election, I got red pilled. Then some of you didn't get red pilled till later. Some of you didn't get red pilled till you watched his first administration when it was going pretty well, but they made it seem like he was this terrible guy no matter what he did. Maybe you caught the red pill then. Maybe you got it in the summer of 2020, summer of social justice, when Joe Biden allegedly got 81 million votes, most votes ever that any presidential candidate has ever gotten, when we didn't know the outcome of the election for months, and they were just finding all these mail-in ballots, and Joe Biden allegedly won. And maybe you got red pill in January 6th when they called it an insurrection. It's not an insurrection. You can't take over the government with no weapons and no tanks and no guns. How are you going to take over the government with 200 people with no guns? That's impossible. So maybe you got red pilled then. Maybe you got red pilled when they kicked Donald Trump off of all the social media platforms at the same time on the same day. Maybe you got red pilled when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris deleted all the executive orders that Trump put in place to secure the border, and they allowed all these illegals and then gave them legal status so they couldn't be called illegals. They allowed them to flood into the country. Maybe you got red pilled then. Maybe you got red pilled sometime between 2020 and 2024 when they were telling you Trump's going to try to run again and we got to keep him away. Maybe you got red pilled when they put all four of these court cases, the fraud case in New York, the SA case, the RAPE case in New York, the RICO case down in the state of Georgia, and this documents case with Jack Smith down in Florida. Maybe one of those red pilled you. And if none of that worked to red pill you, maybe you got red pill today. But at some point, you're taking that damn pill. At some point, you're taking that damn pill. That pill, and by the way, those who don't know what the red pill means, some of y'all might not know what I'm talking about. The red pill is a metaphor that comes from the movie The Matrix. In the movie The Matrix, there was this one character who got faced with a decision, a binary decision. Either A, you can take the blue pill and you can keep believing everything that you want to believe and keep living a lie if you want to, but you'll be comfortable and happy. Or B, you can take the red pill and you're going to learn the truth about everything. The red pill is when you learn the truth. I learned the truth in 2016. Some of you didn't learn it then. Maybe you learned it today. And the truth is not about, and the truth that I'm talking about here is not really about Donald Trump. It is, but it's not. Truth is about the mainstream media, and it's about anything mainstream where people tell you what you're supposed to think, how you're supposed to feel, and what you're supposed to do and not do, just because someone with a position said it. That's the truth. That's the red pill that you need to swallow and understand that just because someone has a certain position, title, or status does not mean that you should accept anything that they tell you. As a matter of fact, it means you should double check and triple check anything that they tell you, because now we can see that these people have an agenda that is not based on telling you the truth. If you didn't figure that out in the last 10 years, you should have figured it out in the last 10 hours. All right, everybody got it? The mainstream media, they're giving you too many opportunities. Now, Trump is the reason for this, and the reason that Trump is the reason, they're the reason and Trump is the reason. It's two things. One thing is that the mainstream media decided that they wanted to compete against social media, which was a bad idea. It was a bad decision for them to try to compete against social media. Social media is about giving people dopamine hits over and over and over and over again, basically to keep them satiated. Mainstream media is supposed to be telling people the truth, which is not dopamine. Mainstream media is like it's supposed to be giving people a good meal, like a starch, a protein, and a vegetable, like a good meal, some meat and potatoes with some vegetables on the side. That's not as exciting as giving people some Snickers and some Skittles and some Reese's Pieces. Social media is candy. The mainstream media is supposed to be giving you a full course meal. And the mainstream media decided we're going to try to compete with the candy and we're going to try to give people dopamine hits. So they started trying to give you what you wanted to hear rather than telling you what you needed to hear, which is called the truth. See, what you want to hear is just repeating what you already believe. What you need to hear is telling you the truth. That's what media is supposed to do. That's what journalism is supposed to do. They decided they wanted to compete against social media. It was a bad idea. Combine that with the fact that Donald Trump popped up. And they decided that, you know what, we're not going to report on this guy in an objective way like we're supposed to do as journalists. We're going to skew and spin everything that we say about him because we just think he's such an existential threat that we had to make sure that people understand it. So in other words, what the mainstream media did, and they're still doing it to this day, and we'll talk about that in a minute, they decided that they were going to tell you what to think rather than allowing you to think for yourself. That's what the mainstream media did wrong. And the problem is it's been 10 fucking years and they're still doing it. I just gave you an example. All right. They wouldn't even mark that he won the election because they didn't want to tell you he won. All right. He had 267 damn votes. They didn't put the state of Alaska, which again hasn't voted Democrat as long as most of us have been alive. They wouldn't say he won Alaska because those 3 votes would have given him 270, which would have effectively ended the campaign, would have ended the competition. It was over. It was over. And before that even happened, Kamala Harris had already announced that she wasn't going to be speaking at her election night party because it wasn't nothing to say. All right, she lost. Well, she could have said something. We're going to get to that in a minute. So we got a lot of things we got to get to here. This is just an introduction. All right, I'm just getting warmed up, folks. So those of y'all don't know me, I'm just getting warmed up here. This is just the intro. I got a whole lot to say about this. And the first part is not really about Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. It's about the mainstream media. And I beseech you, I beg you, stop listening to the fucking mainstream media. All right, stop watching the news. They don't do the news anymore. Start getting your information from independent sources. Now, the challenge is you got to look around for what independent sources you want to listen to. So it's a little bit extra work for you, but the extra work will be worth it because now you will know you're getting the truth and you're getting objectivity rather than getting a bunch of bullshit from the mainstream media. The mainstream media is not to be trusted. All right, y'all remember that virus a couple of years ago, whose name I can't say? Y'all remember that virus? All right, did you not learn in 2020 that the mainstream media can't be trusted? Did they not tell you that if you take the shot in your arm that you can't get the virus? And did a bunch of you take the shot and get the virus anyway? Did your mom take it and get the virus anyway? Did one of your friends take it and get the virus anyway? Did that not tell you that they're bullshitting you? I don't need somebody to lie to me 10 times to understand that they're lying. I only need to figure it out once. See, in 2016, when I realized, they were lying to me during the campaign because these people who voted for Trump, they're not as crazy as they made it sound. That's when I realized, these people have an agenda. Okay, I'm not listening to them anymore. Only need to hear it once. See, smart people, we experience something one time and we get the point. Some of us are a little bit slower. We got to hear the same thing over and over again before it gets through our heads. And the bones in the head, the skull, these are the hardest bones in the body because they're there to protect your brain. So we got hard heads, if you get my metaphor here. Sometimes you got to experience something over and over again. So some of you just woke up today. Good morning. All right, so let me pause there. Let me move on to the second point. Donald Trump. Let's talk about Donald Trump, who is now going to be our president number. This is 47, right? So he was 45. Biden was 46. He'll be president 47. I respect comebacks. I respect when someone is down, or first of all, when someone's up, then they get knocked down, and then they get back up. That's what Donald Trump did. He took the shot first, not the jab. I'm talking about it. He took the actual shot, the literal shot. Wasn't even what I was trying to say. But Donald Trump came into politics and they immediately bashed him, right? And they had a reason to bash him because he had gone after Obama and said Obama was from Kenya. And Obama actually is from Kenya, by the way, if you didn't know that. I talked about that yesterday. And they said this guy's terrible. He won anyway. All right, that was the first time he won. Then the 2020 election comes up, which he would have won had it not been for the virus. The virus can make any politician look bad, and it had not been for those mail-in ballots. Had they not had the mail-in situation and people actually had to go vote like we did this year, Donald Trump would have won in 2020, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation because he would have already had his 2 terms. But all of a sudden, we got this mail-in thing, and all of a sudden, Joe Biden gets more votes than ever in history, and he wins the election. Fine. People said, well, Trump's a loser. Trump's out of here. Trump's going to be gone forever. But not so fast. He came back. Donald Trump came back. He came back from that shot when he believed, and I still believe to this day, that he has a right to believe that the 2020 election was stolen from him. Now, do I think it was stolen from him? Based on what I know, I can't quite say that. Here's what I can say about the 2020 election. Does anyone who's a MAGA supporter or Trump supporter, do they have a right to say that election was questionably executed? The answer is hell fucking yes. Yes, it was. I said that back in 2020. Now, do I think it was quote unquote stolen? You had to prove it. If you claim something, you got to prove it. Now, did they prove it? They were unable to prove it. So that's the part that I would say to a Trump supporter, if you want to say the election in 2020 was stolen, you got to prove it. If you can't prove it, then we can't say it was stolen. But can you question it and say it was done questionably? The answer is hell yeah. All right. Well, since when did we need weeks and months to know the outcome of an election? That's the part that makes it questionable. That alone makes it questionable, that it was weeks before we knew who won that election. That makes the 2020 outcome questionable. And that you can mail in ballots, which means people didn't have to do anything to actually vote. You can mail from your house you can mail in a ballot without doing anything. Just do it from your house. I voted in person in the 2020 election. And the other thing was that it opens the door for shenanigans. All right. How many of those votes were actually real votes? We will never know. That's the point. And Trump's team tried to prove it. They were unable to prove it. Just because you can't prove something does not mean it didn't happen. Now, doesn't mean that you can keep claiming it if you didn't prove it. But at the same time, the lack of proof for something does not mean the thing doesn't exist. If I can't prove something, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It just means I didn't prove it. And it will go down as an unsolved mystery for now. I think probably 50, 60 years from now, somebody's going to write a book about this whole situation. Can y'all hear me on Instagram? Are you getting static over there? Somebody's going to write a book about this whole situation and tell the truth about what actually happened, but it's too soon. Nobody's going to tell that truth right now. It's going to be after all these characters are long gone and past. Then they'll tell the truth about the situation. We ain't going to hear it yet. The point is, was it questionable? Yes, it was. And Donald Trump came back. That's the part that I'm making here. He made a comeback. And let's compare what Donald Trump did to what Kamala Harris did. And I want you, for me to explain this to you, I need all of you to understand who exactly you're listening to and who I am. All right. I come from a lower middle class background. I played sports for a living, but I didn't grow up as some blue chip athlete like LeBron James or Kobe Bryant that everybody said he's going to make it. I barely played on my high school team. I walked on to play college ball, and I had to hustle my way into playing pro ball and keep hustling even after I got into pro ball to keep having an opportunity to play. I'm telling you all that to say I come from a background of you had to earn it. I come from the background of you had to earn it to get in. All right, the working class people that Donald Trump is talking to, I come from that stock. That's where I come from. All right, working class people who get up and go to their job every day and do their job, and they don't have the luxury of not doing your job because then the bills don't get paid, the kids don't eat, there won't be any Christmas. That's where I come from. That's the stock that I come from. That's the background that I'm from. And Donald Trump earned it this election here I'm talking about by being up, then he was down, and then he came back. I'm talking just about that part. Now, I know Donald Trump doesn't come from the exact background as me because his dad was in real estate and he got whatever amount of money from his dad. I didn't get any. My dad wasn't in real estate, didn't give me a bunch of money. But the point that I'm making here is that I come from the background as you got to earn it. My brand, I just told you at the beginning of this, is called Work on Your Game. I'm about doing the work. I'm about showing up every day and doing your job. That's what my parents did. They were not athletes. They were not entrepreneurs. They did some small business, no entrepreneurial stuff, but they, for the most part, were, I don't know what I just said. Someone said on TikTok, my live is flagged for civic and election integrity. Repeated violations could result in your live being discontinued. I don't know what I said. What did I say? TikTok, what did I say? I don't know what I said. Anyways, I don't know. Somebody tell me what word did I just say that got my live flagged on TikTok. Don't know what I said. But anyway, I come from a background of, I watch my parents get up and go to work every day. And Kamala Harris, just speaking on this election alone, just on the election, Kamala Harris got a handout. The only reason she was on the ticket is because she got a handout. She didn't earn that. Kamala Harris did not earn her position on the presidential ticket, the Democratic ticket in 2024. She did not earn it. It was a handout. It was handed to her. And it was handed to her because the Democrats decided they were going to push Joe Biden out after his bad performance during that, what do they call those things? The debate. All right, he looked terrible during the debate. He did look terrible during the debate. And Joe Biden will probably admit that he looked terrible in the debate. Kamala even said he looked bad during the debate. Everybody said he looked bad during the debate. And he probably, had he stayed on the ticket, he probably would have lost anyway. There would have been a rematch between him and Trump would have beat him. He would have lost had that happened. However, at the same time, he earned the nomination. Joe Biden earned the nomination. If you earn the nomination and you get beat, then you just get beat. But you get beat by standing on your own 2 feet. And he got to fight his own battle. And if you lose, you lose. But you can't kick the guy off the ticket and then replace him with the person that you want to replace him with, and then say that the other guy, Donald Trump, is the threat to democracy. Tell me how that makes sense. How is Trump the threat to democracy when they circumvented the democratic process by removing Biden off the ticket and installing Kamala as the person when they didn't even have an open primary where she would have had to compete? Now, had she competed and won, then I wouldn't be saying what I'm saying right now. All right, because it wouldn't be a handout. She competed and she won. She earned her spot. She didn't earn her spot. She got handed that spot. First of all, she got handed the VP spot, but VP is chosen by everybody. So I ain't knocking her for getting chosen for the VP. But to get on that ticket, what the hell happened? I just got kicked off of TikTok. I don't know what happened. They said my access to go live and multi-guest will be restored on November 13th. And they said misinformation. And that's where people have different opinions, but I'm telling y'all what's happening on TikTok. I just got kicked off of TikTok just now. And they said, we do not allow inaccurate, misleading, or false content that may cause significant harm to individuals or society, regardless of intent. Significant harm includes physical, psychological, or societal harm and property damage. Visit our community guidelines for more information. Do I agree with this decision? Yes or no? The answer is no, I do not. I do not know what they're talking about. So I don't know why I got this. TikTok should allow content like this, and my live does not contain the content mentioned in the notice. What the hell are they talking about? But I had this happen before, and they just banned me. What's today? Today is the 6th. So I got a week long. They just banned me for a week from TikTok. This just happened just now. So I'm going to file an appeal. Let me do this right now. It's just while y'all wait for me on all these other apps. I'm on 7 different places right now. So they got my appeal under review. But the last time I did this, the appeal was under review. And then like 30 seconds later, it said, we reviewed your appeal and it was rejected. That's what happened last time that this happened. When I was talking about something else, I was talking about the education. I was talking about the educational system, trashing the educational system. I just got kicked off of TikTok. They haven't told me why I got kicked off. They allowed me to submit an appeal. I just submitted the appeal, and let's just see how quickly this appeal comes back. But this is what happens, folks. This is what happens on these apps. I don't know what I said because I am pretty good at talking around certain language. I know how to say certain things without saying it, so I don't get kicked off, but they just kicked me off. And we'll see what happens here. They got my appeal under review on the TikTok app. Even this live that I just did, 18,000 people watched this live here on TikTok, and I only talked for damn 20, 30 minutes before they kicked me off. And they're not giving me anything. They said I got a restriction. So I must have said a certain word. Did I say something? I don't know. So I got 2. So I'm just telling y'all what happened over here on TikTok. Daniela, what's going on? Good morning. I didn't say China though. I know not to say China on TikTok because TikTok is owned by China. So I have no idea. So they gave me 2 restrictions. One was misinformation. They said misinformation. There's no such thing as misinformation. That's a nonsense concept. Misinformation. What the hell did I say? And they say it will take 24 hours to review your appeal, and we will notify you once we have an update. So hopefully the people over on TikTok, what I'm about to tell the people on TikTok is to come over to Instagram. So give me 1 second. And I got a warning for civic and election integrity. What are they talking about? So again, they're not telling me what exactly happened here. So I'm going to submit again now that's just feedback. That's not even, I can't even do anything with that. So again, this is probably one of the biggest ones best lives that I ever would have had. They kicked me off. So let's see if I can actually make a post on TikTok. I'm gonna tell the people on TikTok to come over to IG. And this is a pain in the ass and over to YouTube. So I see you all over on YouTube who are watching this, and shout out to my people on Instagram. Give me 1 second so I can make this post because this is some bullshit. All right. So, and they might not like that I'm posting this, but I'm going to post it anyway. And TikTok just kicked me. I'm just typing this is going to be a post on TikTok. TikTok just kicked me off for unknown reasons. And I'm going to finish my points in a second. Just let me do this. Follow me on Instagram at Dre Baldwin or YouTube at Dre UPT on YouTube to catch the rest of this live today. All right, let me make that a little bit bigger, and I'll post this to TikTok. I don't know why they put this music shit on here. All right, so all right, let me make sure my post is up on TikTok. This is some nonsense. All right, so I just put the post up on TikTok. So maybe some of the people on TikTok will come over to one of these other apps. So let me get back to what I was saying. And this will be recorded. It'll be on YouTube anyway for anybody who missed it. So, all right, shout out to the people who came over from TikTok. Not everybody on TikTok even knows that I'm on Instagram. So I got to remind you all more often. So Kamala Harris, she got a handout. All right. She did not earn that nomination for the Democratic ticket. And Democrats made a mistake by putting her on. I'm going to address that a little bit more later on. They should not have put her on the ticket. And they pushed Joe Biden out, and Joe Biden kind of checkmated them. I heard Megyn Kelly say this, or somebody she had on her show, she said it, or they said it, was that when they announced that, or they told Biden, we're going to push you off the ticket, you should come out and just say you're getting off the ticket rather than us pushing you out. Because if we push you out, that's kind of like a dishonorable discharge. So we're trying to kind of let you save face by saying that you're walking away. And I don't think any of you is still naive enough to believe that Joe Biden chose to walk away. Right? He didn't choose to walk away. They kicked him off, and he just came out. It's kind of like if you're at a job and they're about to fire you, they'll say, look, we'll let you resign so we don't fire you. So he resigned instead of getting fired, but he knew he was being pushed out. And the first thing that he did, as soon as he announced it, if you remember this, he posted on social media. He said, I'm stepping out, I'm stepping off the ticket, and I'm stepping aside for this year's election. And I put my full support behind Kamala Harris as my replacement on the ticket. And people have said, people who know the insides of this stuff say that Joe Biden did that intentionally because he wanted to checkmate the Democratic Party and not let them put whoever they wanted into it. He wanted to make sure that Kamala got the spot because he chose Kamala, right? He chose Kamala as his, let me see if they'll let me go. Yeah, not letting me go. I'm on TikTok. I just tried to start a live again. They said your access is suspended. You can go live. You can go live and join live as a guest starting from November 13th. So I basically got banned for a week from from TikTok, pending my appeal. Whatever. Let's see what happens with this appeal. I don't even know where I would get information about this appeal that I got from these folks over here on TikTok. But this is some nonsense. This is some bullshit. But anyway, we'll get back to that in a minute. We'll see if they give me. Okay, so I got a notification from TikTok. So let me tell y'all what happened. So I got this violation that y'all saw that in real time when I got the violation. And then I submitted an appeal at 8:40 a.m. And at 8:42 a.m., I got a response. Your appeal was not approved. So 2 minutes, they looked at my appeal and they told me that it's not approved. And I can't do a live stream on TikTok for a whole week. So this is some bullshit. I don't know why this happened. And they say the appeal process was not user-friendly. That's one of them. I had to wait too long. No, I didn't have to wait too long. I hope to have better ways of explaining myself. And I don't agree with the appeal result. Yeah, all of these. And they give you these choices that you can give when you want to respond to this. I don't know if this is going to do anything. I doubt it. And they blocked it. So you can't even watch the replay of the 30 minutes that I did so far. And we reviewed your appeal, and your appeal is not rejected. And they said misinformation, which is a bullshit term anyway. But hopefully the people on TikTok see my posts and they come over to here. Let me just check my profile on TikTok and see if people see this. And I'm going to continue with what I was saying there. And let's see if people on TikTok have even seen my posts. I don't know if they might have. Looks like people haven't seen this post. I don't know. TikTok might have TikTok might be what's the word? Kind of blocking my stuff from being seen, period, because they did that. I don't know why that happened. Anyway, let's continue with where I was at. So these handouts, folks, these handouts that Kamala Harris got, I believe this is a little bit of karmic retribution, both for her and for the Democratic Party, because they, number one, could have let Joe Biden play out the string. And if he would have lost, he would have lost. If he lost, then, or first of all, if he won, he would have had a second term. And in 2028, they could start with a fresh slate of people. Had he lost, then he'd be out of the game. Donald Trump only would have one more term. And again, it'd be the same situation. 2028, we could start with a fresh slate of people, and there'd be a fresh person coming from the Republican Party. But they decided they wanted to install Kamala, and they thought, and for a while, it looked like it might work, that putting Kamala in behind a whole bunch of non-substance. Kamala did not have much substance. I said this early in her campaign. This woman has no substance. She's not really saying anything. There's no meat and potatoes in anything that she's doing. And he started this campaign talking about the vibes for Kamala Harris. Like, you can't win a political campaign on vibes, even on short notice. She only had 100 days to do the campaign. Eventually, people got tired of the bullshit, and they said, okay, what are you really about? What do you really bring to the table? Do you really have some form and some substance? And the answer was no, she didn't have any. She did all those interviews with people who were friendly to her. The problem with those is that each one of those interviews, she was saying the same things, the same surface level talking point stuff. And eventually people were like, okay, there's nothing behind the wall of this individual. We need to hear you actually say something that you truly believe and that you're truly going to do. She didn't do it. All she did was give a bunch of campaign promises. We're going to give $25K to these people. We're going to help entrepreneurs do this, and we're going to give this tax credit. And it's like, okay, all right, we get that. Like, tell us what you're really about. What do you really believe? Where do you really stand on anything? And the interesting thing about Kamala Harris, as opposed to someone like Trump, is that she never took a stand on any point. She tried to play the middle on everything. And the problem with trying to play the middle on everything, as they say in the business world, if you try to be everything to everyone, you become nothing to no one. That's what Kamala Harris actually did to herself. She kept trying to play the middle and be something to everybody in everything that she did. And eventually people got tired of it. Again, that can work in the short term. It can work in the short term if you're only talking to people for a week or a day or an hour. But you keep talking to people over the course of months, and you're running for the biggest job in the United States of America, then people are going to eventually say, all right, you got to bring some substance to the table. And the only thing she brought up was, the only thing that she was standing on was the reproductive freedom, which is a bullshit term, satanic term, if you ask me. And I'll explain why it's satanic in a minute, was this abortion thing. So the main line between the two of them was abortion versus not necessarily don't you have abortion, but we're not going to make it a federal thing. Kamala saying we're going to make it a federal thing. I talked about that yesterday, which is a bad idea. And I'm responding to everybody's comments when I'm done, by the way. I talked about that yesterday. It's a bad idea that they even did that because no such thing. There is no abortion ban in the United States. Now, some states have bans on abortion, but the United States itself does not have a ban on abortion. The fact that Trump put in justices on the Supreme Court to strike down Roe versus Wade made it such that the federal government does not have a say in the process. That's the whole point. Federal government does not have a say in whether there are abortions or not. They sent it down to the states so each state can make their own decision. That is really why the United States was designed the way it was. So the federal government has oversight on a few things, but for the most part, the states make their own decisions. That's the reason that the government is designed the way it is. We want limited government, not expanded government. And this is one of the main challenges with Kamala. She wants to expand the reach of the government. Trump wants to limit the reach of the government. Not everybody believes that, but that's the way I see it. Third point is this. Donald Trump decided to go over the top of the problem. Let me explain to you what that means. Going over the top is a principle that I talk about all the time to my audiences, whether we're talking business, politics, or anything else. Going over the top of a problem is when you have been in a situation where you had a bunch of issues that you need to deal with all at the same time. You got to deal with this and this, and this is like 8 or 9 or 20 different things you got to deal with all at once. Going over the top of the problem is the simple concept of you ask yourself, what's the one big problem that if I solved this one problem, it would render all the other problems irrelevant and obsolete? And that's what Trump did by winning this election. See, by winning this election, let's look at all the smaller problems he took care of. First of all, he took care of that. Well, first of all, that New York fraud case is going to get struck down in appeal court. The E. Jean Carroll case, the assault case, that one is going to come down on appeal, and he won't have to give that woman that money. I don't think he's going to have to give her the money. That RICO case in Georgia is not going to go anywhere. That one's going to fall apart while it's still in court. And this Jack Smith case, the guy who was trying to get Trump on these documents thing, that case is going to fall apart as well. So those are 4 problems he took care of. He took care of the problem of people saying that he's going to destroy democracy and he's going to be a dictator on day one. He's going to end the Constitution. He didn't do that during his first term. So why are people saying that now? He's won. He's not going to do any of those things because if he was, he would have did it the first time that he was president because he wasn't guaranteed any more time. He had 4 years to do it. Why didn't he do it? Doesn't make any sense. So he eliminated all those problems. The problem with him calling the media fake news, which he's been doing since 2015, he has now basically solidified that statement and proven it because they did the same thing to him this time than they did to him the first time. And it failed the first time. It semi-worked the second time during the shenanigans of the 2020 election. And it failed again this time. So 2 out of 3, he proved himself correct. He knocked down all of these and he went over the top of all these problems all at the same time. He went over the top of Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, over the top of Hillary Clinton, over the top of Joe Biden, and over the top of Kamala Harris, and over the top of all the powers that be in the Democratic Party who they don't dislike him. They hate him. All right, Nancy Pelosi hates Donald Trump. He went over the top of all of them by winning this election. All he had to do was solve one problem, win this election, and I shut all of them up. I prove all of them wrong, and I prove myself right. And I saved myself from these nonsense lawfare court cases that they're trying to throw up against me. He knocked down all of the problems by doing one thing. in the marketing world, we call this the big domino. So the big domino is like, what's the one thing that your customer needs to understand or believe in order to make a purchasing decision? And if you hit them with the big domino and you knock down the big domino that's in their head, all the other details about your product or service are rendered irrelevant, because that's the main reason why they're buying. So it's like if you're selling a car to a soccer mom, what's the main thing that she wants? She wants a whole bunch of space in the car, and she wants to make sure that the car is safe. All right, as long as the car is safe, then she'll buy the car. So she doesn't care about the sunroof. She doesn't care about the sound system. She doesn't care if there are leather seats. She doesn't care about how nice the steering wheel is. She doesn't care about the spoiler on the back of the car. None of those things are the reason that she's buying the car. The reason she's buying the car is because she wants her kids to be safe. And if you can sell her on the safety of the vehicle, she's buying the car. So you don't have to tell her about the other 60 features on the vehicle if you can get her to understand that one big domino is taken care of. It's the same thing when we talk about going over the top of the problem. That's what Trump did by winning this election. Moving on to point number 4. We are talking here today about President Trump. Now, well, technically former President Trump. He's not officially president again, but we'll just call him President Trump, winning for the second time. I believe, I've said this weeks ago, but I believe that somewhere between now and January, when he is inaugurated and sworn in for the second time as president, they're going to try again. When I say they're going to try again, you know what I'm talking about, right? They're going to attempt on his life again. I believe that's going to happen again. They're going to try. Now, hopefully they're not successful, but I do believe they will try. I don't think they're going to just let this go. I think they're going to try to get him one more time. They tried twice during this campaign, and he survived, and they're going to try it again. And when I say they, I don't necessarily mean there's a specific group who I'm finger pointing here. What I'm saying is his enemies. And Trump has a lot of enemies, and there are people who are enemies of him, not because he has necessarily done anything to them. For the most part, I think the only thing Trump's really done to anybody is kind of talk trash to him. He's talked trash to a lot of people, but is he really doing anything to them? How many people have talked trash about him? What have they said about him? I think it's been much worse coming into him than has been going out from him. And there's only one of him, and it's like, what, hundreds of everybody else, thousands of everybody else. So a lot of people really vehemently dislike this guy, and they really believe, they have been blue-pilled into believing that this guy's presence is really a threat to your life, a threat to your future, a threat to your kids, a threat to your community. If you really believe that about a person, you would be a hero for taking him out, wouldn't you? If you really believe that he's Hitler, I think I can say that word. I can't say it on TikTok. I can say it on these apps. If you really believe that he's that, wouldn't it make sense to take him out? Knowing what Hitler actually did, wouldn't it make sense to get rid of him before he gets around to doing that stuff? So this whole concept of him being a threat to democracy, ruining the Constitution, et cetera, this is a big challenge for him and his team to keep him safe, which should be the Secret Service. They should have a lot of it. It's a big challenge to him and his team to keep him safe between now and Inauguration Day, when I'm assuming he gets even more fuller Secret Service detail. I don't know if he gets it now because he won and he's the president-elect. Anybody know about that? Leave it in the comments. Does he get more just because he won, or does he not get the chance to get more until he's actually sworn in? Any of you know, y'all can let me know. And there are people like, what's the woman's name from Texas? Jasmine Crockett. She's a congressperson from Texas, black woman. She was heavily on the campaign trail working for Kamala Harris. And there was a period when her and a bunch of other Congress people, I believe they were all from the state of Texas, but it might have been in D.C., they signed a document that said, we believe that Donald Trump should not have any Secret Service security detail. He should have none whatsoever because, and they had their reasons, like, well, he's a threat to democracy, and he tried to overturn the government, and he tried to do the insurrection. They had a list of these talking points, and she signed this saying he shouldn't have any security detail at all. And this is a congressperson who was working on the Harris campaign. She did it before she got the job on the Harris campaign, but she's a congressperson, and she won re-election last night. And it wasn't really a close contest, but she won re-election last night. Hopefully, by the way, any of you who is watching me right now who came over from TikTok, please let me know in the comments that you came over from TikTok, because TikTok kicked me off out of nowhere. They just kicked me off the app while I was in the middle of talking, and they said they kicked me off for misinformation. That's the reason that they kicked me off. Now, why does an app owned by China care about misinformation about the American election that is already decided? I don't know. So if you came over here through TikTok because you saw my post on TikTok, let me know, because then we'll see if people actually got the message and came over. They just kicked me off randomly out of nowhere. Well, not randomly. Allegedly, I violated something. So anyway, I believe there'll be another attempt on Trump. So he needs to stay safe, and not we keep him safe, but his security needs to keep him safe. And they probably know this, that they're going to try again. Next point. Did Kamala call Donald Trump and do the concession thing? Isn't that what they do in elections? Well, you know that you didn't win, and I know Trump didn't do it because of the 2020 election. It was a little bit tricky what happened in the 2020 election. But isn't it normal that when you've lost and you lost and you know it's over, you call the other person and congratulate them on winning? And it's kind of like shaking hands after a game. Good game, you won, and then you move on. All right. When Obama won his 2 elections, his opponents called him and said, congratulations, you won, and they moved on. All right, shout out to people who came over from TikTok over on IG. I see you all. And shout out to people watching this on replay who lost me on TikTok. And this post that I did on TikTok telling them that I got kicked off, it's showing no engagement at all. So I have no idea. Anyway, let's continue. And I'll tell you about what we're going to do about this TikTok man in a minute as well. Because they might end up kicking me off TikTok because this is the second time they did this to me. I'll get to that later. Let me get through my points. And what was I just talking about? Oh, yeah, the concession call. So when Obama won, he got a concession call from the people he beat. When Trump won, he got a concession call from Hillary. And I want to know if Kamala called Trump and said, congratulations, you won. Did she do that? I didn't hear that she did it. Now, I saw on X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm very active on X. It's the only app where you'll see me in the comments actually having conversations with people. So I'm going to look it up right now because I want to see if she actually called Trump and gave the concession, because it usually is just and maybe Trump would have recorded it had it happened. And no, she didn't do it. So this guy named David Sachs over on Twitter, he says this exact thing. Waiting a whole day to give a concession speech was a big mistake. By tomorrow, Kamala will literally be yesterday's news. No one will even tune in. So this other thing about Kamala, she canceled her event. So last night she had an event at the HBCU she went to was what? It was Howard, right? So she went to Howard University at HBCU. This is one of the bullshit talking points that she was using to prove that she was black. Kamala is not black, but different conversation we don't even need to have anymore because her career is over. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But she's at Howard University. She planned this big event that was going to be a celebration that she won, but she didn't win. And what happened in the middle of the night last night, if y'all didn't see this, that they had all these students, all these black students at Howard, and of course other people are all at Howard to help celebrate what they think is going to be her win. When it became clear that she was going to lose, Kamala Harris left the event. She did not speak to the audience, and one of her spokespeople for the campaign got on stage and said, Kamala's not going to be speaking tonight. She's going to speak tomorrow. So they left all those people who came to see her high and dry when it became clear that she was going to lose. That's not how they usually do it. Now, let's back up here. Let's back up the truck for a second. And Ray, I see what you're saying there. You're exactly right. What would they say if Trump did that? What would they say if Trump did that, had an event at Mar-a-Lago where he lives in Florida, and it was clear he was going to lose, and he just left the event, didn't speak to his followers, and said he's not going to speak till tomorrow, and they just left them there standing there like looking at each other, looking stupid? What would they say about Trump? They would have a field day with that. Oh, he's a sore loser. Look at him leaving his fans high and dry. Look at him leaving people just hanging out and not doing anything. Look at this guy. He's a terrible guy. It's good riddance that he lost. Now, Kamala did the exact same thing. What are they saying about her? I don't hear anybody saying anything about her. But she couldn't even call the guy and say, congratulations, you won. I mean, it's clear right now that he won. Did she give the concession call? And I see somebody had posted this. So let's see. Did she give the concession call? And I'm seeing CNN is reporting that Kamala's HQ, her headquarters, is in complete silence and trying to find any bright spots they can find. It's over. Concession speech coming soon. This was 9 hours ago. She never gave the speech. I've been following this stuff since 12 o'clock this morning. She had never given the speech. She didn't give the speech and she didn't make a call. And now they're saying, let me see. No, they don't have it on here. Now they say she did call. So some conservative poster says PNW conservative, Pacific Northwest. It says Kamala called Trump to concede. That's what they're claiming. Now, I don't know if she called to concede. A couple people have said that, but I don't think that she did. Mila Joy on X said that she called. I have not gotten confirmation that she actually called. So let's see. I don't see anywhere that she called. I don't think this actually happened. I don't think Kamala Harris has even called Donald Trump and just said, congratulations, you won. That's like shaking hands after a game when you lose. She hasn't done it. Now, again, what would they say about Trump if he did this? I'll just leave that question sitting out there. All of you know what they would say about him if he did it. But let's keep moving. The people have spoken. Let me tell you how the people have spoken. And this is something I posted on X earlier today. So if you're not on X, if you're not a type person to go back and forth with people on social issues, X is probably not your place. But I'm going to tell you about it anyway. And I see I got a good number of people watching me on X right now. I don't usually see the numbers because on Rumble, when I'm going live on Rumble, you can't see the number. So X, it shows me that I'm live, but it doesn't tell me how many people are watching. But now that I'm looking at my X account, I can see that people are watching. So shout out to all y'all on X. So over on X, I made a post earlier this morning, and I said the following. I'm going to read this out to y'all, okay? So number one, they stole the nomination from Joe Biden. This is a nomination that he had rightfully earned. I just explained that. They stole the nomination from Joe Biden. Anybody believe? Is anyone listening to this who believes that Joe Biden just decided I'm going to leave this campaign when I already won the nomination? What does he have to lose? Does anybody believe that? I don't think anybody believes that, right? Okay. So that's number one. Number two, this is my post. I'm just reading from my own post. They stupidly installed the worst possible replacement in Kamala Harris when there were many better options available, such as Michelle Obama was better than Kamala Harris. Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan, better than Kamala Harris. Gavin Newsom from California, or as Trump likes to call him, New Scum. He was better than Kamala Harris, whatever you want to call him. He was better than Kamala Harris. And Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, who, by the way, they should have picked him as the running mate because he would have won. He would have helped her win the state of Pennsylvania. Might have been a different conversation right now. Actually, it wouldn't be a different conversation. She still wouldn't have won because Trump won all the other battleground states. Had they picked Shapiro, though, they probably would have locked up Pennsylvania, and she needed Pennsylvania to win. Without Pennsylvania, she probably didn't have a chance to win. She would need everything else to go perfect. Everything else ain't go perfect. All four of them are better candidates than Kamala Harris. All four of them. Whitmer, Obama, Newsom, Shapiro. And that's not mentioning anybody else that I'm not even thinking of right now. So that was the second bad thing they did. Third thing, they put 4 criminal charges on Trump in an attempt to bankrupt him and incarcerate him, in the worst case to destroy his character and scare away voters. That's why they did it. So any of you who thinks that those court cases that came against Trump are because he actually did illegal things, here's the challenge to that point. Why didn't they charge him when he actually did them? They waited until years later to use it against him just to make sure he didn't run in 2024. Fact is, it failed. All the things that Trump got charged with, the liable about talking about the woman, E. Jean Carroll, that happened years ago. They could have been took him to court for that. The fraud case was from the 2015-2016 campaign. They could have took him to court for that a long time ago. The RICO thing happened in 2020 because it's all about him trying to overturn the 2020 election. They waited till 2024 to make a case out of it. And the other one is the documents case. There's a documents that he took from the White House when he was president and after he was no longer president. Again, happened in the year 2020. Why'd they wait 4 years to even do any of these cases? At the least 4 years. They waited because they wanted to use it against him to either make sure he didn't have money to run. That failed. Make sure he went to jail. That failed. And to make him look bad to voters so they wouldn't vote for him. All 3 of them failed. All bad ideas. And the last thing, the mainstream media, number 4, mainstream media kept repeating the same nonsense that we already understood was nonsense. I told you that at the beginning of this live. Now, here's where the bullshit failed, and I'm going to tell you what people did to push back against the bullshit. Number 1, citizens got tired of hearing from entertainers and Hollywood celebrities. Some of them, I'm fans of their music or their work, but I don't want to hear them telling me what I'm supposed to do with my life. I don't want to hear Jennifer Lopez telling me what to think. I don't want to hear fucking Fat Joe telling me how to think and what I should do because of whatever Fat Joe has to say. I want to hear Fat Joe rap. All right, you ain't rapping, Fat Joe. I don't really care what you have to say. I don't want to hear what LeBron James has to say. I don't want to hear what J-Lo has to say. Who's another one? I don't give a fuck what Taylor Swift has to say. People are growing desensitized to this shit. And I'm on X all the time. And I saw on X every time some celebrity endorsed Kamala Harris, and a whole bunch of them did, damn near all of Hollywood, damn near all your favorite entertainers and rappers and singers, anyone who said anything, they endorsed Kamala Harris. Very few of them were outwardly supporting Donald Trump. Otherwise, they were quiet. Every time one of them came to support Harris, people went crazy. Like, wow, this person's supporting Harris. Look at all this support. And Taylor Swift, she has 8 billion fans. And that means that Trump has no way of winning. When Donald Trump came out, what did he say after when Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala? What did he come out and say on X? He said, I hate Taylor Swift. Remember that? I hate Taylor Swift. And someone said Trump is trying to lose. He's intentionally going to lose. Does he not know how many young teenage girls love Taylor Swift and their dads are now not going to vote for Trump because he bashed Taylor Swift? Remember that? I remember. I saw it on X. When he said, I hate Taylor Swift, a bunch of people were reposting it and saying, this guy just killed his election by saying he hates Taylor Swift. How'd that one turn out? Who else? Beyonce. All right, Beyonce. She supported Kamala Harris, and they had an event in Houston, and they got Beyonce's coming. Beyonce's coming. She spoke for like 4 minutes and left. She didn't even perform a song. They bait and switched people to get them to come to that rally. And Beyonce's married to Jay-Z. Jay-Z is one of my favorite rappers. Jay-Z ain't said anything, but he's married to Beyonce. So she's going and working for Kamala, and I'm assuming that he's on the same page. And Jay-Z went hard for Barack Obama in 2008, by the way, if you don't remember. And we just got tired of that. People are tired of hearing some Hollywood person telling you how you're supposed to think, what you're supposed to do. And the main reason is not because these people are not allowed to have their opinions. All right, Fat Joe can have an opinion. LeBron James is allowed an opinion. Taylor Swift is allowed an opinion. Jennifer Lopez, Beyonce, somebody name some of the other celebrities that co-signed Eminem. Eminem did an event in Detroit. How'd that work out? They lost Michigan. All right, Eminem did an event with Barack Obama for Kamala Harris. Who's some others? Please name a couple other celebrities that co-signed Kamala Harris during this. This guy named Bad Bunny. I don't know this guy's work. I believe his music is all in Spanish. So I heard of him. It's an interesting name that he has. Good alliterative name, but I never heard his work. That guy came out and he supported Kamala after the Trump rally in Madison Square Garden because all these Latin people claimed that they were offended by the jokes that the comedian told at the Trump rally. Nonsense, bullshit, performative bullshit, as usual. People just got tired of this shit. Again, they are allowed their opinions, but don't tell me how I'm supposed to think. And if I'm an everyday person, I think about my parents, everyday people, lower middle class people who went to work every single day and couldn't afford to not go to work. What the hell do I care what some Hollywood celebrity who makes $10 million per movie is telling me about how I'm supposed to vote because of what you think? All right, what the fuck do you know about my situation and how my life is on a day-to-day basis? You don't know anything. And this is why it doesn't make sense anymore to keep using this. This is the same playbook. You can't keep using this playbook. People are desensitized to the nonsense now. And it's not that a celebrity's endorsement can't mean anything. Oh, what's the other chick? Cardi B. Do y'all see Cardi B? When she was doing an event, I believe it was in Wisconsin. So they flew Cardi B into Wisconsin to speak for Kamala. Did y'all see this video? Yeah, please find this video on X. It's a very funny video. It's on YouTube too. So here's what happened if y'all didn't see this. So Cardi B gets called in to speak for Kamala, and we know it's a paid endorsement. She got paid, and she goes to speak for Kamala. And Cardi B, by the way, is the Latin, what is she? Mixed Latin and black, whatever she is, Puerto Rican and black. This is the chick who in 2020, Joe Biden wasn't doing any interviews, but he got an interview with Cardi B. They had Cardi B interview Joe Biden. Y'all remember this? Cardi B interviews Joe Biden. He wouldn't talk to anyone else from the hip hop or black or urban community, whatever you want to call it. The one person he talked to was Cardi fucking B. So this is who she is. And she had a video on social media in between the Biden administration where she said, after she stumped for Biden in 2020, she said, I'm not voting for anybody. If there was an election right now, I ain't voting for nobody. She had a video where she said that. Then all of a sudden she comes out, she's supporting Kamala, and the answer is the wire transfer hit. All right, that's the reason why she supported Kamala, because they sent that wire transfer. She got the money. She said, all right, I'm on the plane. So she goes to do this event in Wisconsin. And if y'all didn't see this, go look the video up. So Cardi gets introduced, and she's up on the stage, and everybody's cheering and all that. And you see her pointing to the screen like this. So while she's taking in the applause, she's pointing at the screen like this. She's going like this. And the screen she's pointing at is the teleprompter at the back of the auditorium because she has to read her remarks from the teleprompter. And at that time, the teleprompter wasn't working. So the teleprompter malfunctioned. So while everybody's clapping for Cardi, she's smiling and taking it in, but she's pointing like this, like, yo, the teleprompter ain't on. And then she does it again. And she said, yeah. And she like buys some time. She points at it again. And then she says something. She says something, some filler words. And she points at it a third time. It's not working. And then what you see is another woman, like one of the campaign staffers, walks up on the stage and hands Cardi B a phone. And then Cardi B reads her whole speech from the phone like this. Did y'all see this? And it's like that right there. If you didn't already understand the game that they're playing, then that should have made it very obvious to you. These people don't believe anything that they're saying. They just get told what to say. They accept a check to do it, and they sell their souls in order to get that money. That's what they do. What's how they get into one of the ways that you get in and stay in Hollywood in the first place. I ain't saying everybody in Hollywood, but I ain't saying everybody is not guilty of that. Nostalgic said Cardi B talks like a special ed middle school teacher. Well, all she was doing, special ed middle schooler, not the teacher, but the schooler. Okay. Well, the thing is, she was reading. All she was doing was reading. Well, obviously, Cardi B knows how to read because she was reading. She read the notes perfectly. right off her phone. And I'm looking at it, and the things that she was saying, because this is the interesting thing. When you see these celebrities talk at these events, they talk like, hey, this is why it's personal for me. But I'm like, how are you saying it's personal for you when you're reading your notes off a fucking phone? If it was personal, you could just talk. But again, this is what we get tired of, hearing these people. Next thing, let's talk about the individual groups. I'm going to talk about 4 groups: Black people, white people, men, and women. All right. So I think that applies to almost all of you, at least one of those categories. Black people, we got tired of being told what we're supposed to do just because we're black. All right. Barack Obama, I said this in one of my lives a couple weeks ago. Barack Obama was out of fucking line. When he showed up in Chicago and spoke to the black men and said, seems like you brothers have a trouble supporting a black woman because she comes from where you come from, went to the same schools as you. Y'all are not supporting her. Bullshit. First of all, Kamala Harris ain't black. Secondly, Kamala Harris ain't from the hood. And third, Barack, you already used up all the do it because you're black bullshit in 2008 and 2012. All right, it's 2024. All right, you can't keep using that playbook. It was 12 years ago, Barack Obama was able to win for the second time on the vote for me because I'm black. It worked then. It ain't working now. And he tried to use the same playbook for Kamala Harris. Who knows? Maybe he did it on purpose to sabotage her because he don't like her. He wants Michelle to be president. Michelle would have beat Kamala had they primaried. I do believe that. But all right, this is what you got to do. When you're part of the party, you got to do what they tell you to do. So black people, we ain't on this vote for me because I'm black bullshit anymore. Doesn't mean I won't vote for a black person. But don't tell me vote for you because you're black. I'm going to vote for you, and you happen to be black because you're bringing something of substance to the table. On top of the fact that Kamala Harris ain't actually black. Candace Owens has already done the uncovering on that. If you're on YouTube, you should already know. Go look up Candace Owens while you're listening to me right now. Look up the videos Candace Owens has done exposing the bullshit of Kamala Harris's background, which we don't even know what it is. It doesn't matter anymore because she's about to disappear. Next, I said second group, white people. White people push back on this emotional blackmail of being labeled racist just because you support Donald Trump. So any white person who votes for Donald Trump is racist. I guarantee you when I get on X today, that's all you're going to hear. If you're white and you voted for Donald Trump, that's just proof that America is still racist. It's proof that you're racist. It's proof that you couldn't see past your racism. It's proof that you support MAGA because it's all about racism and you just want to maintain racism in America. And you're racist if you're a white person, you supported the white person. So this is just emotional blackmail. It's basically they're trying to bait and switch you. So you got a person of color candidate. We can call Kamala a person of color. Now, where she's actually from, we don't actually know. I believe she's Irish and Hindu and Jewish, but you may think something else. But we can agree person of color. So you got a person of color character. You got a white guy candidate, not character, but candidate. Kamala and Trump. So what they said to the white people, first of all, what they said to the black people is, well, here's a black person. You got to vote for him because you're black. How can you not? You're a black man. You got to support a black woman. Well, how you tell me I got to support a black woman who's married to a white guy? You tell me. If Barack Obama was married to Molly Obama instead of Michelle Obama, would you have voted for him? Maybe not. Maybe not. Are you going to come to me and say, support me because I'm black? I'm a man and you're a woman. And you look at me and you see a white girl on my arm, then you might be looking twice and be like, hold on, bro. You got a white girl. You chose a white girl to live your life with, but you telling me as a black woman to support you just because you're black? Like, you didn't even pick a black woman. How you telling me to pick you? And it's the same thing. You flip it around. Barack Obama is telling us support the black woman, Kamala Harris, when this black woman chose a white man to be with. That makes it questionable. Now, I'm not saying everything is all about this identity, who you're with, and all of that stuff. I have nothing against interracial dating. Of course I don't. Now, the thing is, though, however, if I come up to you and say, you need to support me because we're both black, you have a right to look into my background and ask me, okay, where have you made the black choice yourself if you're telling me to make the black choice? That's a legitimate question. If I tell you vote for me because I'm black and you say I chose a white woman, then you can question me on that. Like, wait a minute, how you telling me to vote for you because you're black and you ain't even choose black for your own life? You want me to choose you as black for 4 years, but you didn't even choose black for your life, for your home, for building your family. That don't make no sense. That makes no sense. And anyway, what they said to the white people on the flip side was, hey, white people, if you want to prove you're not racist, vote for the black person. All right, people ain't falling for that shit no more. That shit doesn't work anymore. It didn't work in 2016. I don't believe it worked in 2020. But again, Joe Biden got the most votes ever in the history of election. And it didn't work in 2024. That does not work. You can't guilt people into doing what you want them to do if you have no logic or substance behind the attempt. You got to give people something of substance. All right, why should we do this? Oh, just because you can prove that you're not racist. So now you're a white person. Prove that you're anti-racist. This whole concept of anti-racism. Prove that you're standing in solidarity with the immigrants and solidarity with the black people. Go vote for Kamala Harris. Bullshit. Okay, this is bullshit. And white people push back on this, and rightfully so. So white people, congratulations to you for pushing back on this nonsense and not letting them emotionally blackmail you into proving your anti-racism by voting for a black person just because. That's a nonsense concept, and it is devoid of logic. Men, what did we do? We were reminded, and all men, in case you didn't know, let me remind you of the mandate. I said this yesterday. I will say it again here today. A man was designed by your higher being. Some of you call that higher being God. God designed it that man is the head of a household. Man is in charge. Woman is the helpmate to the man, and a child is subservient to the man and the woman. Oh yeah, Rowan Martin. That's another good one, Ashley. Thank you. Yeah, he's another one. Another sellout. Democratic shill sellout. And this whole concept of men, it's time that we gave men the chance to be in charge all this time. Now it's time we give women the role to be in charge. That I'm not saying that a woman can't be in charge. I'm not saying a woman can't be CEO. I'm not saying a woman can't start a business. I'm not saying a woman can't be a boss or a manager or a supervisor. And I'm not saying a woman that if she happens to be in a situation cannot lead a household if she has to. However, the very concept that we need to give a woman a chance to be the leader just because is bullshit. And men push back on that. We were reminded, again, this is not some new concept. It's in the Bible. We were reminded that the man's mandate is to lead, not to follow. And a bunch of women, I believe, also came to the realization and were reminded that the man's role is to lead and the woman's role is to be a helpmate to the man. That is in the biblical text. I'm not even a Christian, but it's in the biblical text. And why does this matter? Because this is the order that God created. So if you believe God created the world, whether you are Christian or not, you have to believe what he said. You can't just pick and choose the parts you want to go with. He created Adam first as the man. He didn't want Adam to be by himself. So from the rib of man, he created woman. Right? This is not disputable. And he told them, eat freely from everything in his garden. Just don't eat from that tree right there. And when Eve was deceived by the serpent in the form of the devil in the form of a serpent or whatever it was, when Eve was deceived, she bit from the tree. So first of all, let's catch what happened there. When the devil wanted to deceive man, he didn't go straight to the man because the man would have resisted the deceit. He went through the woman. See, if you want to get to a man, you got to go through the woman. Because that's a man's weakness. All right, that's what it is still to this day. If you want to get to a man, don't try to go at him directly. That might not work. But if you go through his woman, you might be able to get him. That's what the devil did in the Garden of Eden. Went through the woman. She bit into the fruit. Then she got Adam to bite into the fruit. And when God realized what happened, what's the first thing God said when he realized that they had bitten into the fruit? Some of you may not notice. And the answer is, he said, Adam, where are you? First thing God said when he realized that Adam and Eve had broken the rule and done the opposite of what he told them to do, the first thing he did was not address the woman who had actually made the initial mistake. First thing he did was address the man. Where are you? Now, why does that matter? What's the significance of that? Significance is he addressed the leader. That's what God did. The first thing he did when he realized that the group was messing up, he addressed the leader of the group. Any of you who works in corporate or has ever worked in corporate, what's the first thing that happens when the board of directors, the shareholders decide that they don't like the way the company's going? What's the first thing that they do? What's the first change they make? They fire the CEO. They fire the boss. They don't fire the maintenance man. They don't fire the guy who's cleaning the toilets. They don't fire the person in the mailroom. They don't fire some middle manager. They fire the boss. They go to the person who is in charge, who's supposed to be running this thing. It ain't running the way it's supposed to be running. So you're the first one to go. First thing God did was address the man because the man is supposed to be running the show. And when the show wasn't being run properly, he addressed the man. Where are you? And he asked Adam what happened. I'm paraphrasing now. And Adam, the first thing Adam said out of his mouth, this is the first mistake man ever made, if you want to know. Well, actually, the first mistake was listening to a woman instead of leading the woman. No disrespect to the women out there. I'm just telling y'all what it is directly. First mistake he made was listening instead of leading. The second mistake he made when God asked him, where are you and what are you doing? Because they had put on clothes because they didn't know they were naked. They realized they were naked because now they had this information they weren't supposed to have from eating the fruit. And you know what Adam did? You know what Adam said to God? First thing he did was he blamed the woman. This is the first mistake Adam. The second mistake Adam made was he blamed the woman when God started to hold him accountable. Why are you doing this thing that you shouldn't even be knowing how to do? First thing Adam did was he blamed Eve for what he was doing. He got caught doing the wrong thing. The guy said, "What are you doing?" He blamed the girl. Do y'all see this in society today? It's the first thing men do. When they make a mistake, first thing they do is blame the woman. See, when you're a leader, you take full accountability. Adam tried to elude accountability, and from there, all hell broke loose. And you can read the story of the book of Genesis in the Bible, and you want to learn more about that. And again, I'm not even a Christian, but I've read enough of it to know the story. And the whole point is, men's role is to lead. And men finally reminded themselves, our role is to lead. I'm not going to vote for a woman just to give her a chance to be a leader just because. Now, again, if you liked Kamala and you believe she would be better than Trump, for you had some real reasons of substance, fine, vote for whoever you want to vote for. But let's just give a woman a chance to lead just because it sounds good. Fuck that. No, I reject that idea. That your deposit has been returned to you. It is rejected. I do not agree with that concept. I don't buy into that. The man was designed to lead. Man's role is to lead. And let me explain even further. If there was a war right now in the United States, let's say some country invaded the USA. So it's not us going to their country, but they came to our country and they're invading your city, wherever city you live in right now. Let's say they were some army from some country was in Miami right now, and they're running through the streets and they're just going at stuff. They're killing children, they're taking women away, and they're chopping heads off of men. And our government, our army and military start going around trying to get ahead of them. And they start knocking on doors and say, is there a man in the house? And handing him a gun and saying, hey, good luck, defend yourself. If the army comes, shoot him. All right, let me ask you a question. How many women will want to take that gun? They want to get on the front line and fight. I don't think many. The point being that when humans get into a crisis situation, everybody falls back into their natural roles. If there was a war being fought on American soil in our cities right now, I don't see any women who would say, let me step up to the front line, give me a gun and a hard hat. I want to fight. I want to put my life on the line. No, it'd be all men with their lives on the line. The women would be home with the children, taking care of the house, while the men are out there fighting and putting their lives on the line to defend the country. That's the natural role. I'm not saying a woman can't have a job. Okay, let's be clear. I'm not saying a woman can't run a business. I want y'all to understand the bigger point that I'm making here is that the natural role of a man is to stand on the front line and put himself on the line to defend the women and the children, not to get behind a fucking woman. All right, when did that become a thing? It's not the man's role to be behind the woman. It is the woman's role to be behind the man. And I understand the concept of feminism. I'll probably do a whole live on this concept. I understand why feminism has taken off in many ways for many women. And one of the reasons that feminism has taken off is because a lot of women have looked around for a man to follow behind, and ain't no men stepping up and leading. Therefore, the women decide, I guess I got to do it. So any woman who is bought into the concept of feminism, you have been misled in a way, but I understand why you did it. Because the woman's role is to be a support mate to a man. But if there's no man stepping up leading, then there's nobody to follow. Therefore, you got to lead. So I get it. I completely understand that. If a woman has bought into feminism, I understand why and how it happens. And at the same time, let me be clear, because over here in the work on your game world, one of the sayings that I have is that we start in the mirror and we end in the mirror, which means anyone who I'm talking to and working with, we start with you and we end with you. Even if we're talking about all these people in your team, we're talking about your community, we're talking about your customers, we're talking about your business, we always going to come back to you. What can you do and what did you do to lead to this situation occurring? So when I'm talking about feminism, I'm not really talking to the women, I'm addressing the men. The reason feminism is a thing is because we men are not stepping up and doing our fucking jobs and leading as decreed by your higher being. And this is why women have decided to fill the void that you have left by not doing your job. So you want feminism to go away, then that means we need more men to step up. We need masculinity to come back. And that's under attack right now in our world. And there are women out there who do have men around them who are leading, whether that be your husband, whether it be your father that you were raised by, or maybe you're single out here and you just see men leading. So that's your experience. So you realize that this is your natural role, is to be a helpmate to a man. That is the natural role of a woman, is in support of a man. But a man has to be there for the woman to do her job. Woman can't do her job. A man doesn't do his job. See, a man can do his job by himself. A woman can't do her job without a man doing his role. You don't do your role, then of course the woman's going to step up and take your spot. Men, I'm talking to men when I make this statement. Anyway, the fourth thing that happened is that women rejected this concept, this bullshit concept that being able to kill your baby is somehow some sort of power move. All right, which is nonsense. And people have been sold this concept. Your ability to kill your baby that you voluntarily conceived through unprotected sex with a man, your ability to kill it is somehow empowering. All right, they built a whole campaign on this, and they almost won. They almost won. They almost won the White House on this campaign. That your ability to kill your baby that you conceived through sex that you chose to have, that's empowering. All right, so we got to vote for that. We got to protect women's right to choose. Well, how'd you get pregnant? Did you choose that man? Did you choose to lay down? Did you choose to let him inside of you? All right, so you already made a bunch of choices. How all of a sudden this is the right to choose to kill the baby? Luckily enough women understood that this was some bullshit and voted against it. All that, I'm saying all that to say this, that the matrix is collapsing. Shout out to the people watching me on X while I'm talking right now. And I got kicked off of TikTok in the middle of my live. It was like 18,000 people on my TikTok live. They kicked me off because they said misinformation. Have I shared any misinformation so far here today? So TikTok has their own rules, but it's social media. This is the way it goes. I get it. Now let's keep it moving. All right, the people have spoken. All right, that's what I said in that point. A couple more points here. If you got a question or comment, leave it in the comments. I'll address it while I'm talking when I get done. I already mentioned to you that Kamala Harris was a shitty, trashy candidate. She was a poor choice of a candidate. And I believe that Joe Biden checkmated them by saying, I put my full support behind Kamala Harris. Now, why couldn't the Democrats just say, well, even though Joe Biden supports Kamala, we're not going to go with Kamala. We're going to pick somebody else. Why couldn't they just do that? That's a good question if you're thinking it. The reason they couldn't do it is because Joe Biden, first of all, said, I'm going to appoint a black woman as VP. So he had already put the thing out that he was doing identity politics. That's why he chose Kamala. Then he said, I'm going to appoint a black woman to the Supreme Court. He did that by choosing Ketanji Brown Jackson. So Joe Biden had proven himself as, I'm going to do this thing, quote unquote, for black women, whether you think it was some bullshit and just a sales pitch or not. He did actually do it. We have to agree that he did it. So what would the Democratic Party, who's supposed to be the party of black people, which is also some bullshit, but what if the Democratic Party had just decided, you know what? Joe Biden said he wants the black woman to take his spot, who's already the vice president, who he appointed. No, we're going to kick her off and make her compete against all these other people, a couple white people and some other black people in order to get the spot. What would they have looked like? They would have lost a lot of support from a lot of black people based on that alone, even though Kamala ain't black. The fact that she is posing as black would have been enough for a bunch of black people to say, wait a minute, he picked a black woman, and now you're going to remove the black woman from the spot and make her compete against this white man, this white woman, this other white man, and this other black woman in order to get the spot that he said she should have, and he's the one we elected in the first place. Y'all looking crazy, Democrats. So they got checkmated. Joe Biden, even though he's mentally declining, he wasn't mentally declining when he did that. That was a great checkmate move that he did to make sure Kamala got the ticket. The problem is Kamala was a bad candidate. Let's compare the last three candidates we've seen from the Democratic Party. You had Barack Obama. Barack Obama was, for all intents and purposes, perfect. I'm talking as a candidate. As a candidate, Barack Obama was damn near perfect. He had the posture. He had the speaking ability. He had the eloquence. He had the energy. He had the way that he showed up. He was very conversational. He was very personable. He had everything. Barack Obama was like perfect. If you went to ChatGPT and said, ChatGPT, design me a black man as a presidential candidate for the United States of America and make him as flawless as possible, it would have printed out a 3D picture of Barack Obama. As a candidate, he was perfect. I'm not saying he was perfect as a president, and I'm not saying he's perfect now, and I'm not saying he's perfect, period. I'm just saying as a candidate, he was as close to perfect as you can get, Barack Obama. Now, who was the next candidate after Barack Obama? For the Democratic Party, it was Hillary Clinton. Now, Hillary Clinton ain't quite Obama. I mean, she tried to actually run against him in 2008 and lost, ended up working for Obama. And she ended up, quote unquote, beating Bernie Sanders in 2016. You can look into that if you think she actually won. I don't think she did. I think Bernie was about to beat her, but the Democratic Party said, nah, we're going to take Hillary, and Bernie, you're out. I think that's what happened. But anyway, she ended up on the ticket. Now, Hillary Clinton, again, ain't Obama, not quite as eloquent, not quite as real, not quite as personable, very packaged, very politician-like. She's very politician-like, career-long politician, but at least she had a track record. At least we knew that she knew politics, and her husband used to be president for 8 years as well. So she had a solid track record. She was a solid candidate. And on the top of the fact that she would have been the first woman president had she won. So she was a solid candidate. She wasn't a great candidate. She was not Obama, but she was good enough. And she was going against Trump, and she ended up losing. Who was the next Democratic candidate? Joe Biden. Now, Joe Biden, I believe, was progressively worse. So we went from Obama to Clinton. I believe Biden was lower than Clinton because Biden had been in politics even longer than Hillary Clinton. But Joe Biden was like, Joe Biden was like, any of you watch combat sports, you watch boxing, and some young up and coming boxer is trying to go through the ranks so he can get up to contender because people think he might become champion. And they'll put him in a ring against some grizzled veteran fighter, some fighter who's had like 50 fights and his record is like 30-20. Now, he's been knocked out a bunch of times and he's knocked a bunch of people out, but he's 30-20. He has all this experience in the ring. They'll have him fight somebody like that just to get used to it. It's not that he's going to lose, but he has to deal with that guy because that guy knows all the tricks. He's a veteran. He knows how to do all the stuff and try to frustrate the young up and coming contender. And you got to go through that so you can get ready for the bigger fights you're going to face in the later years. Joe Biden is like that. Joe Biden is like that fighter with 50 fights. He's like 30-20. He ain't going to be champion, but he's not an easy out. That's Joe Biden. That's who he is. He's this guy who's just been in the game for a long time. He knows all the tricks. He knows all the stuff. He ain't perfect, but he ain't no pushover either. He ain't no walk in the park. That was Joe Biden. And now we got Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is worse than all three of them. So we went from Obama to Hillary Clinton to Joe Biden to Kamala Harris. The Democratic Party has produced worse and worse candidates for the last 4 election cycles where they needed to produce a new candidate. They just keep getting worse. Kamala Harris had nothing. She did not have Joe Joe Biden's track record of being in politics. She didn't have she didn't come from the stock of politician like Hillary Clinton. At least she was married to a guy who was president and she knows the ropes. She did not have the eloquence or the status or the stature or the posture of Barack Obama. She had nothing. What did Kamala Harris actually have as a strong point for her candidacy? What did she have? I'm asking this question. This is not a rhetorical question. What did Kamala Harris have? She didn't have anything. She doesn't have anything now. She has nothing. She's not this great speaker, absolutely not a great speaker. She doesn't have this stature of a leader like Obama. She ain't got that. She doesn't have 50 years of experience in politics like Joe Biden has. She wasn't in a successful White House, kind of like her administration with Biden hasn't been that great. They didn't do too well. At least Joe Biden was part of Barack Obama's administration, which we can at least say it was successful because he was able to win his second term. So even if you don't like what Obama did, he won 2 elections and Joe Biden was his VP. So you had to give him credit for that. And Joe Biden had the fissure of being next to Barack Obama, which helped him because Obama was a very popular president. Whether you liked him or not, he was very popular. And Kamala is coming off being with Biden, who wasn't that popular when he was president. And people are like, this guy's mentally declining and you're the one he picked. So that means you might not be that good either. So Kamala had nothing. She had nothing. You look at the strong points from all the previous 3 people, Biden, Hillary, and Barack Obama. Kamala Harris had no traits from any of them. Nothing. 0. So the Democratic Party actually, I posted this on X a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. The Democratic Party is secretly happy that she lost. They're happy that she lost. Now, why would they be happy that she lost? They're happy because, number one, Kamala's career, as far as her ascension and moving up politically, is over. All right. She was in the Senate already, right? So maybe she'll go back to being a senator or a prosecutor or whatever the hell she was doing before. She ain't ascending anymore. Her ascension is over. Just like Hillary Clinton. When she lost, we ain't seen Hillary do nothing since. All right. Her ascension, Kamala Harris, is over. And the problem with her career is that she doesn't have the solid ground to fall back on. Like Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State under Barack. She is married to a guy who was president for 8 years. Joe Biden had a 50-year track record. He knows everybody in D.C. and everybody knows him. All right, he had that. And Barack Obama won 2 elections. What Kamala Harris got? What she got? She ain't got nothing. What she got to fall back on? She doesn't have anything. If she wrote a book right now, would you read it? If Kamala Harris wrote a book, would you read it? See, when Hillary Clinton lost in 2016, she wrote a book. People read the book because people liked Hillary Clinton. Does anybody actually like Kamala Harris? Does anybody in D.C. like Kamala? I'm talking about the politicians. Forget the citizens. Does anybody in D.C. actually like Kamala Harris? I would say no, because she hasn't maneuvered in D.C. enough. She hasn't done enough maneuvering in Washington, D.C. She was in the Senate, so we got to give her credit for that. But she hasn't really maneuvered the way the other ones have maneuvered. Barack maneuvered very well. Hillary maneuvered a lot. And again, she was next to somebody who was maneuvering. Joe Biden, same thing. He was next to somebody who was maneuvering. He's been in the game for years. Kamala has none of those things. What's the next step in Kamala Harris's political career? Can anybody answer that question? I mean, she's probably good enough financially. Maybe she don't have to work anymore. She's like 60, so she's close to retirement age. But what is she going to do career-wise now that she's done? I think she can go host a talk show. She ain't that. All right, she ain't hosting no talk show. Do you want to hear Kamala Harris talk? Even if you voted for her, do you want to hear her talk? No. You want to read her book? No. All right, what position can she hold in politics? Well, she had to wait until if she wants to get back in the Senate, she had to go against somebody. She might have to go against a Democrat. So I don't know if she's coming back. What is Kamala Harris going to do? I don't know, but who cares? All right, Kamala has nothing. Let's move on. I got 2 more points. America rejected Satan last night. I'm going to go as far as to say that. We rejected Satan. Let me explain to you what I mean. This whole concept, and I've talked about this for like 3 days straight. I've been talking about this, and I'm going to keep talking about it. This whole concept, yeah, she is going to get disowned. Nostalgic soul, you're correct. All right, she has nothing left. They're going to throw her out. And, oh, yeah, let me finish the last point that I was making. Then I'll explain why America rejected Satan last night. The Democrats are happy that Kamala lost because, first of all, that means her career is over, so they don't have to deal with her anymore. They can replace her with better people. So the 2028 candidate for the Democrats is actually going to be a strong candidate. Now, I don't know if they're going to win, but they're actually going to be vetted. They're going to be good, and they're going to have to beat everybody else to get the ticket. So they're actually going to be quality. Kamala was not quality. Second thing is Donald Trump will be retired, so they don't have to deal with the Trump machine anymore, the MAGA machine. Going against the MAGA machine is a whole other beast for the Democrats, so they won't have to worry about that anymore because he'll be out of the game after his next 4 years. Another reason that they're happy that Trump won is now they have a chance to regroup and they can get their shit together because they're all over the place right now and not looking good, and they got to get new leadership. Somebody got to replace Nancy Pelosi, and they got to get a whole new team in place. And I think their best candidate for 2028, if I was to say right now today, Michelle Obama. If I was working for the Democrats and I wanted to pick the best possible candidate very early for who can run 2028, I'm going with Michelle Obama. If I had to pick one person right now, that's who I'll bet on. And I think she can win. Now, who she's going to run against, we don't know because Trump will be out of there. But I would pick Michelle Obama. And Michelle Obama would have dragged Kamala's ass had they gone in the primary against each other. It wouldn't even been a competition. But anyway, different conversation. And the Democrats ain't asking me, but that's what I got to say. So America rejecting Satan. And let me tell you why America rejected Satan. This whole concept of women's reproductive freedoms or women's right to choose is a nonsense point for an even bigger reason than the things I've been talking about the last couple of days. First of all, is there anyone in this who's listening to me right now who has a child, at least one child, male or female? I mean, you as a male or female, that's your kid. You're a male or a female. You have at least one child, but before you had that child, you had multiple false steps in the process of trying to have a child. Is anyone listening to this who has ever dealt with, again, you could be the woman who dealt with it or the man in the relationship, and you dealt with either a stillborn child or miscarriages or just feeling like maybe it would not be possible for you to become pregnant? Is anybody listening to me right now? Leave it in the comments if you have dealt with that. Any of you ever dealt with a stillborn child, a miscarriage, or maybe a nagging feeling inside of you that perhaps it won't be possible for me to conceive and have a child? Any of you ever dealt with that? And I'm asking that question for a reason. And even if you haven't, maybe nobody in this live who's listening now, or nobody who wants to comment can say it, but we can agree that this happens, right? So any of you who's known anyone who's gone through that, when you finally do get pregnant, and I dealt with it in my relationship, I'm not a woman, I can't get pregnant, but you get what I'm saying. When it finally did happen, we understand that for what it is. What is that? That's a gift from God. When you get pregnant and you've been trying, but you've been unsuccessful, and then it finally works, that's a gift from God that you got pregnant. That's not your choice. That's God's choice. Your choice is to have unprotected sex, but it's God's choice whether or not that's going to lead to conception or is not going to lead to conception, and whether that baby's going to make it or is going to not make it and you're going to have a miscarriage or something like that. That's God's choice. That's not your choice. That's God's choice. God chooses that you're going to get pregnant. God chooses that it's going to be a boy or a girl, which takes us to our other satanic thing, is that child mutilation is not gender affirming care. More bullshit language. It's not gender affirming care that a boy decides he wants to chop off his reproductive organ because he decided that he's a girl. Bullshit. Or he doesn't even want to chop it off. He just wants to play on a girl's team and use the girl's bathroom. Bullshit. That is satanic. Why? Because God chooses if and when you get pregnant. God chooses what baby you're going to deliver, a boy or a girl. God chooses if you are a boy or a girl, and you do not have a say in any of that. You don't have a say. I don't have a say. And if you're a boy or a girl, I was born with male reproductive organs. Therefore, I'm a male. I have no say in that outcome. I was born to be 6 feet 4 inches tall. I have no say in that. Now, I have a say in if I want to play basketball or football or baseball. I have a say if I'm going to do a live stream on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. I have a say in if I'm going to wear a blue suit or a black suit. I don't have a say in immutable characteristics such as my gender. All right, that's not a thing. And what did I just tell you about the Garden of Eden? One of the first things that Satan did to deceive man, that was Adam and Eve, and he still does it to this day, is he takes things that God has already decreed, he flips the language around and gets you to think that you don't have to do what God said. You get to do whatever you want to do. Your choice. See, this whole concept of your choice is bullshit. That's a satanic thought, is a satanic idea that gets implanted into you. I'm not saying you don't have choice in anything, but the immutable things, you don't have a choice in that. You don't have a choice as to whether or not a baby is going to be born out of you. And as soon as you start taking that choice, you are following what Satan is telling you to do rather than following what God told you to do. Because as soon as you get pregnant, God decided that you were going to get pregnant. Now, whether you meant for it to happen or not is a different story. But God decided this is going to be you, is going to grow inside you, and this is what it's going to be. And as soon as you take that decision into your own hands, following what Satan is telling you to do, then you go and your reproductive freedom. See, this is the reason why they changed the language of the words. Reason why they changed the terms around is so that you can feel validated in doing what you're doing instead of calling it what it actually is, which is God gave you a mission to have this child. That's how you conceive. You got pregnant because God gave you the mission that you are going to get pregnant, but instead you decided to abort God's mission. That's why it's called abortion. You aborted God's mission. Now you decide, you know what? I'm not going to follow God's mission. I'm going to do what I want to do. You're listening to Satan. That's Satan talking to you. That's the devil speaking to you. And I'm not even Christian, but I understand these concepts enough to explain it. You're letting the devil tell you that you could do what you want to do. All right, it's bullshit. Surfing cowboy, what's going on, my dude? This is bullshit. All right, you don't get to change God's plan. God makes the plan that this is who you are, this is what you're going to do, and this is what you're going to have. Now, you get a lot of choices in life. You get a lot of free will, a lot of things you can do and don't need to do. You can live in New York, you can live in Miami, you can live in California. You can drive a car, you can take Uber, you can walk. You got a lot of choices, but there are many things upon which you have no choice. That's God's plan. And when you decide to abort God's mission, the devil is speaking to you and you're listening. And this is the problem. And this is one of the reasons why I say often that one of the biggest challenges we have in America right now is that people have gotten away from principle. And I just told you, I'm not even Christian. Don't go to church, but I respect the hell out of people who I shouldn't even say I shouldn't use hell when I'm talking about Christians, but I respect people who follow a religion. I respect when people follow a religion is a better way of saying it. I respect everybody, but I respect when a person follows a religion. And the reason why is because I know that person has a standard and a set of principles upon which they are decreed to operate by. Doesn't mean we're perfect at it. No human is perfect. That's the reason why sin exists. But we have a list of principles. All right, this is what we're supposed to be living by. If you're a Catholic or you're a Jew or you're a Muslim or you're a Christian, you know that it's written down on paper. This is the way you're supposed to live. And you know when you're violating it because those laws don't change. And those people have principles. And the challenge that we have in America right now is not that everyone is not religious. Again, I personally don't ascribe to any religion, but I have a set of principles. I have a set of principles. Most humans have no principles. This is how they're so easily corrupted. When you have no principles, it's easy to be persuaded to do pretty much anything. You can be persuaded to do anything. You don't have any rules. If there ain't no rules, you do what you want. Right? Ain't that how it works? If there were no police officers, no yellow lines in the street, and none of the traffic lights worked, what would be happening outside right now? It'd be fucking chaos. When you have no standards and you have no rules and you have no parameters, the end game by scientific law, this is called the law of entropy, the end game must be chaos. That is not an option. That is the only way it can go. You either have order or you have chaos. And every human being, you're either moving more towards order because you have structure, standards, and principles, or you're moving towards chaos because you don't have them. There is one or the other. This is a binary. There is no gray area. We're either moving towards chaos or we're moving towards structure. I believe that a vote for Donald Trump yesterday was a vote for structure, order, and principles. That's what I believe. Now, you may disagree, but I'll just explain to you why I believe that. Donald Trump, I'm not saying that Donald Trump is perfect. Donald Trump has multiple wives. He got kids by different people. He got accused of assault sexually of someone, whether you believe he did it or not. But can we agree that if we're comparing Donald Trump to Kamala Harris, at least we know where Donald Trump stands? Where does Kamala Harris stand? I don't know. I have no idea what she's about. I have no idea what her principles are. I know what Donald Trump's principles are. I know what he's about. Now, is he perfect in executing on everything? No, but who is? Nobody is. And as they say in the Bible, I believe I got this right, he without sin shall cast the first stone. So no, you can't really judge that person. And people say, well, he's running for president. Well, what, you hold him to a higher standard than you hold yourself? I consider that a problem. I don't hold Donald Trump to a higher standard than I hold myself. So anything I say about him or anybody, if I'm making a comment about some NBA player and I say something about something that he did or he did wrong or he messed up on, first thing I ask myself before I even say it is, what about me? Am I holding myself to that same standard? So when I say an NBA player is soft because he's not playing in all the games and he's just sitting out games for rest, I got to ask myself a question. Okay, Dre, what do you do when you're tired? Do you show up? Do you go to the gym? Do you do your live stream when you're supposed to? Do you do all the stuff you're supposed to do even when you don't feel like doing it? If the answer is yes, then I'm qualified to say something to him. But if the answer is no, I'm not qualified to speak. I don't care who it is. I don't hold LeBron James to a higher standard than I hold myself. Fuck, I care about what LeBron James is doing. And it's the same thing when it comes to the president. Yeah, they're the president. Yes, they had the biggest job in the country, but they are not held. You should hold no one to a higher standard than what you hold yourself. I don't care who they are and who you are. In America, the biggest challenge we have now, and the reason that these satanic things are slipping through the cracks, actually it's not a crack anymore. Now it's like a wide open chasm, is because the principles are gone. We have no principles. And I'm not saying that we need to make everybody be ascribed to a religion or put the 10 commandments in classrooms, as some people have said. That's probably not going to happen. But people do need to figure out what their principles are. What are you about? Again, it doesn't even mean religion, but what are you about? Do you know? What are you about? Could you explain to someone what you're about? If someone watched you every day for a month, and then I asked them, okay, what's that guy about? You watched him every day for a month. What is he about? Would they be able to answer the question? If you watch me for a month, you would know what I'm about. Just listen to these lives every day. You know what I'm about. I'm not hiding it. I'm telling you what I'm about. I'll tell you what I'm with and what I'm not with very clearly. I think I'm pretty good at articulating where I stand. We don't have principles in America right now. That's the biggest problem. There are no principles. We used to have principles. We don't have them anymore. Principles have gotten lesser and lesser, and they're less enforced. And this is why we have a whole bunch of nonsense going on in our societies, because there's no principles holding people accountable. Human beings do their best work when they're held accountable. When you have someone breathing down your neck, making sure you do what you're supposed to do, guess what? You usually do everything you're supposed to do. When no one's breathing down your neck, you tend to slack off and bullshit. This is just human nature. I'm not saying you personally. Everybody. This applies to me as well. When there's accountability and there are standards in place, they act as guardrails against chaos. When there are no accountability and no standards, you get chaos. If you have a garden outside of your house and you never pull the weeds, what happens to the garden? All right, you already know the answer. All right, if you have a physical body and you never go to the gym and never work out, what happens to your body? You know what happens. If you don't brush your teeth and you don't floss and you don't make sure you're taking care of your dental health, what happens to your teeth? All right, you know what happens. All right, this is the law of entropy. What I just gave you as examples, that's the law of entropy. When you don't have standards and you don't uphold them, you have no choice but to descend into chaos and disorder. There is no gray area. You're either getting better or you're getting worse, growing or dying, building or destroying. Everybody got this? And the last thing I'll say here, and I'm going to be seeing this on X all day today. I'm here for this on X. So people who are watching me on X right now, I'm scrolling through X just to see. It looks like on X, it says 106 people are watching me right now on X. I'm here for the meltdowns on X. I am excited to see the meltdowns that happen on X today. I wish I could have been commentating, getting these comments from my TikTok audience, and TikTok, I don't know what TikTok is doing over here. They kicked me off. For those of y'all who are watching this who came in the middle, I was doing TikTok. I had 18,000 people watching me on TikTok, and they kicked me off in the middle of it, claiming that I violated their terms, their community terms, for misinformation. That's what they said. I appealed it. 2 minutes later, they said your appeal was rejected. And now I can't go live on TikTok for a week. That just happened this morning. I was 30 minutes into my live, 18,000 people wanted to kick me off. So I think TikTok might be a day or two away from kicking me off the app completely. And things are going great on TikTok for me. I was picking up a lot of followers, likes, etc. But this is what happens when you're on somebody else's platform. I don't own TikTok. So anyway, let me recap what I said here today. You got questions and comments, go ahead and put it in the comment section. I'll address them right now. I see y'all over on YouTube, X, might be a couple, LinkedIn, I'll check, and Instagram. Let me get to all y'all. So we know the topic. Y'all know what happened last night or this morning. First of all, they didn't update the app, the maps. All right, so these mainstream media platforms still haven't learned. Number 2, I respect the comebacks over the handouts. All right, Donald Trump made a comeback. Kamala Harris got a handout, and everything worked out how it was supposed to. Number 3, Trump went over the top of the problem. By winning this election, he solved all of the other problems that might have been lingering above his head. Number 4, I think they better watch him closely because they're going to try again on his life before he gets inaugurated. I believe in the next 2.5 months, they will try again. He needs to be secured properly by the powers that be. Number 5, did Kamala make a concession call? Did she call Trump and say, hey, congratulations, you won? I don't think she did. If Trump did that, they would call him a sore loser. Nobody saying anything about Kamala. And also, she didn't even speak to her audience. Her fans showed up to support her on election night. And when it became clear she was losing, she left and didn't even speak to her audience. Again, what would they say about Trump if he did that? Number 6, the people have spoken. People have spoken, period. Men spoke, women spoke, black people spoke, white people spoke. Everybody spoke on what they really want by going to the voting booth. Congratulations to all of you who voted and made your voice heard. And hopefully the mainstream media finally fucking listens to what's being said to them. I don't think they will, but we'll see. Number 7, the Democratic Party should be happy that Kamala lost because she was a trashy candidate. All right. She was worse than Biden. Biden was worse than Hillary. Hillary was worse than Obama. They keep putting out worse and worse candidates every year. Since 2008 or 2012, let's say, the Democratic Party's candidates got progressively worse, from Obama to Clinton to Biden to Harris. Now they can finally reset, reshuffle the deck, and come up with a quality candidate for 2028. If you had to ask me today, who would that be? I would say it will be Michelle Obama. And I think she can win. I think she can win the primaries. I think she can beat other people and actually win the vote. Now, if other people jump in, like Newsom, Whitmer, Shapiro, then maybe they can beat her. But the fact is they got to fight. And you got to win the fight in order to get the ticket. Kamala didn't have to do anything to get on that Democratic ticket, which is why she was a trashy candidate, because she hadn't had to go through anything to get to where she was at. And in life, you're only as good as who you beat. And Kamala didn't have to beat anything. All right. She just had to. Somebody said Michelle Obama is. What do you mean? What do you mean she's dead? I don't think she's literally dead. But the whole point is, and the last thing is, America rejected Satan last night. I just explained this. Abortion is satanic. It's not your choice. That's God's choice that you got pregnant. God decided that you're pregnant. You saying it's your choice that you're going to abort God's mission. You're listening to the devil. That's the devil in your ear. All right. You have a son who decides he wants to be a daughter, and you start calling him she. His name is Mike. You start calling him Michelle. That's satanic. All right. That's the devil talking to you. That is not your choice. All right. Whether you have a baby or not is not your choice. That's God's choice. Whether you conceive or not is not your choice. Any of you who's ever had a miscarriage when you were trying to have a baby, or tried many times, or you had to go to fertility clinics, etc., to get pregnant. When you finally get pregnant, who are you thinking? You're thinking God. God did that. That's not you. That's God. And you want to abort his mission? That means the devil is talking to you. The devil is in your ear if you're aborting God's mission. So anyway, and that's why they need to call it what it actually is, which is abortion, not women's right to choose. So miss me with that bullshit language. All that said, folks, let's start over on YouTube. Then we'll go over to the other apps and I'm going to take questions. Oh, dog, what's going on? Said, I went to sleep early. Well, me too, but I kept waking up to check the maps, and they stopped updating the maps when it looked like Trump was going to win. Pimp Man Silk said, black people are going to be tight, especially my parents. Hey, they'll get over it. They said they're big mad, lost in translation. Yeah, they'll get over it. Tone, what's going on? Good morning. O-Dog said the Amish came out to vote in Pennsylvania. Well, most of Pennsylvania is red. It's just the big cities. So they got State College where Penn State is. That's where I went to school. They got Pittsburgh and they got Philly, and a couple areas outside of Philly, but all the rest of the state of Pennsylvania is red. If y'all look at these electoral maps, y'all see that in every state. There's maybe a big city that's blue. All the rest of the state is red. It's like that in every state in America. Dark Matter said, I'm about to day drink in honor of Kamala, RIP. Don't day drink. Pour it out. Pour it out, Dark Matter. Just pour it out. Don't drink it. Hollywood Hove, what's going on? Tone said, do your own research. Ian said, soaking that victory, boys. USA is back. The dragon is slain. O-Dog said the red pill is basically a dose of reality. Yes, that's what it is. A big dose of reality. Mr. Albert, good morning. Santa Clara Fella said, America won today thanks to God. A lot of people say that. Matt Torrance says, hey, man, we won. Sabrina said TikTok is off. Yeah, they kicked me off of TikTok. They said misinformation, Julie. I don't know why. And Sabrina Oliver also. They said misinformation. They don't tell you why. And the problem is I went online yesterday because I know that they do that. They did it to me before when I was talking about the educational system. And I said, I Googled this. Does TikTok have a list of banned terms? So if I knew what they were, I'll just make sure not to say them. I can do that. It's very easy. And the response was, I was on ChatGPT. It said, yes, they do have a list of banned terms, but they don't tell you what the terms are. So you only find out you violate it when you say something that they don't like, but they don't tell you what are the things you can't say. So that's the problem. And I've said other things. I've said the name of that guy from Romania who has a bald head and used to be a kickboxer. He has a brother. That guy, his name is Andrew. That guy, his last name starts with a T. I said his name in a video on TikTok and they took the video down. So you don't know what the rules are. They give you one warning, and then if you say something else, then they do that. Hawaii 1902 said TikTok was doing that to a lot of people yesterday. I did 2 hours yesterday, and they didn't kick me off. Last time I got kicked off was like 3 months ago, and then I got kicked off today. So I don't know what I said, and they don't tell you. That's the fucking problem, and it pisses me off because I had a lot of people on that live. So a lot of them probably don't even know what happened, and now I can't go live for a week on TikTok. But we will still do lives. I'll tell y'all what my schedule is going to be moving forward in a second. And Queen A said, probably talking about Kamala. Well, here's the thing. I've done whole lives about Kamala. I've done 2-3 hour lives talking just about Kamala over the last month, and they never kicked me off. They never even gave me a warning. So it wasn't that. It was something specific. It's like a specific word that you said. So I don't know what the word was. That's how it is on TikTok. You say a certain word and they flag you. And then if you say the word again, then they get you with the restriction, but you don't know what the word was. So the problem is you don't know until they kick you off, or I said something and then they still don't tell you what you said. So for example, I was doing a live on TikTok once and I said the R word, not the R word about sex, the R word, the country over there that's at war right now with the other country that starts with the letter U. I said the R word. I said the name of that country, R, and they gave me a warning. Like, hey, that's your first warning. If you violate again, we're going to kick you off. So I said, damn, I can't say the name of a country. So it's things like that, but you don't know until you do it. But then I say other stuff. I curse all the time. They don't care about that. They don't care about cursing. And I say Kamala, I say Trump, I say election, and maybe it was the election. Maybe the word it couldn't have been election because I talked about that too much. So I have no idea. That's the problem. I have no idea. O-Dog says, remember Vine? Yeah, I remember Vine. Twitter brought it and shut it down. Yeah, I remember Vine, the little short 3-second videos. Yeah, I remember that. Antoine said, I'm looking forward to no tax on overtime. Well, hopefully he does it. O-Dog said, nobody else is on the ballot to run against her. She was on my ballot. Who you mean? Hillary? You talking about Hillary? Ashley Mitchell, what's going on? Ray says she went to bed during her party watch. Well, she got the hell out of there. That's what she did do. And Ray says she's a sore loser, but was talking all that smack about if he would accept his loss if he lost. Yes, that's a very good point. They're not going to hold her to the same standards. Ray said they will hold January 6th over his head so the next term as if they didn't hold her. Yeah, exactly. That's what they did. O-Dog said Biden didn't earn the nomination in 2020. They blackballed Bernie Sanders. Well, they did it to Bernie twice. They did 2016 and 2020. Bernie should have been the nominee in either one of those years. He didn't get it. Ashley said those celebs should be ashamed of themselves. I don't think they know shame. They took a check. They're all right with taking a check. That's how they became celebrities. They took a check, do what they're told. That's the game. So they're not ashamed. I doubt it. Jay Owen said, hopefully we stop hearing from celebrities. That's not happening. That's not going to happen. Usher, yeah. Usher, Beyonce said she was there as a mom. Yeah, that was dumb. Why would you be there as a mom when you're trying to get pregnant? You got how many kids Beyonce got? 3? So what are you talking about? It didn't even make any sense that she said that. Jay Owen said Cardi B, yeah, when she was reading from the teleprompter wasn't working, so she started reading from a phone, looking stupid. And she's the one who going to tell you how to vote? That was very dumb. Ashley said, I know Roland Martin upset. Yeah, I got to see what Roland Martin got to say today. I want them going to be saying the same thing. I'm telling you what all of them going to say. I'm going to see it as soon as I get on X. They're going to say white people prove that America is still racist. That's one. They're going to say white women keep supporting white men, even though they should not. That's number 2. Number 3, they're going to say black women did their job by voting for Kamala. Number 4, they're going to say black men didn't do their jobs and they are supporting their own demise by voting for this quote unquote racist white man. What else are they going to say? And they're going to say this is proof that we still got work to do in America because America is still racist and misogynistic and xenophobic. Those are 5 things they're going to say. So if you want to save yourself some time today, that's what they're going to say. I am going to engage. I like engaging with these folks on their bullshit. I like this current event stuff. I didn't always like talking about current events. I used to like talking about evergreen stuff, which I still do, by the way. My recorded material, like my show that comes out every day, my podcast, masterclass, a lot of my YouTube videos, my books, my articles, a lot of those are still evergreen stuff. So business related, personal development, professional development, entrepreneurship, mindset. I still do that stuff, by the way. But my live streams, just the live streams, I will be talking about current events moving forward because people seem to be more interested to watch a live stream about a current event than about evergreen stuff. That's just how it is. So I'm just responding to what the game is telling me. Nostalgic Soul said, first time listener, I like this guy. Well, I'm glad. I like you too. Nostalgic said Kamala will be disowned by the Democratic machine now. Oh, yes, it's a wrap for Kamala. It's over. Shadow Strike said, great job, everyone, doing your part in this election. Yes, I'll take some credit for that because I talked about it. Shadow Strike said Trump had a glorious victory. What do you mean about Michelle Obama? What are you talking about? Guys, don't cry. Ty Sloan said, what if Trump starts wars? Well, he didn't start any in his first term. I don't think he would start a war. I think he would finish one. If someone starts with us, I think he would finish it. I'm much more confident that he would finish something if someone starts with America than if Kamala was in charge. I would be very concerned if she was in charge. I think we would look very weak. Best people to listen to is Scott Adams and Kwame Brown. Well, Scott Adams is my guy. Shout out to Scott Adams. Kwame Brown, I don't know him, but I've heard some of his stuff. Kwame Brown's good. Listen to anybody that you believe is telling you the truth. That's the good thing about the mainstream media dropping the ball, is that it opened up the door for people like myself to talk about whatever it is that we talk about and have an audience, because a lot of people no longer trust the mainstream media. So I appreciate the mainstream media for dropping the ball, while at the same time I condemn them for dropping the ball. It helped me and it annoys me at the same time. Melanie said, what happened to Biden's other 20 million voters? Well, they couldn't mail it in. They had to actually show up. And when they had to actually show up, they weren't none. They weren't there. So that's what happened. And I think Trump won. You could make the case that Trump won all three elections. He won 2016, he won 2020, and he won this year, 2024. All right, let's see what we got on Instagram. A Cadillac says, what are my thoughts? Well, I think I just told you that for the last 2 hours. No loose ends. Good morning. Crespo Realty, good morning to you. Indian Eyes 24 said, Trump, a bunch of you with American flags. Araceli, I know you said Trump is the right choice. Congratulations, you got it. You got what you wanted. Get golfing. Good morning. Shout out to everybody with the American flags. I see y'all in here. Air Rex said maybe you got conned. Well, yeah, the blue pill is a form of getting conned. That's what it is. Seabrook said the truth is the truth. That's correct. Indian Eye said being red pill was the best thing to happen to me. Good. Shalisa. Good morning to you. I know you told me how to pronounce your name last time. I got it. I think you need to read it. Oh, okay. We got the mic. Sometimes it gets static just because it's on my tie. Sometimes it gets static. Daniela, what's going on? Good morning to you. Yes, I don't know what happened with TikTok. They won't tell me. Andrew said they took TikTok live down. Yeah, they did. They took it down. And I got to start announcing when I'm on TikTok for people to follow me on other places, because they do that. Ed with the dreads, just seeing you got kicked out. The censorship is crazy on that app. Yeah, I know it is. But if I knew how they censor and what they censored, then I could still play with it. I could still work if I know what the censorship is. I have no idea what I said, though. That's the problem. Yeah, they discontinued me on TikTok. Shout out to everybody who came from TikTok to check me because of that. Daniela said China virus. Yeah, I don't think you can say the word China on TikTok, because TikTok is owned by China. So you got to be careful. Ed said they don't like the real. What's crazy, though, Ed, and everybody, is I've been talking about the election for the last 3 weeks, doing like an hour and a half to 2 hours every day, and I had no problems. So it's something that I said today specifically that bothered them, and I don't know what it is. That's the problem. Diane says they can't tell you what the warning is. That is BS. Well, it is BS, but it's their platform. That's the thing. So it's their platform, so they can do what they want. All right, shout out to everybody who came here from TikTok. Hopefully, if you have other friends on TikTok, make sure they come and check me. Do I do lives here on YouTube? Yes. So right now I'm live on Rumble, YouTube, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So all the other platforms are on this screen. Instagram's over here, and TikTok was over here. So I got 3 devices up, but now TikTok is not up. So yes, I go on all those places. So whichever one you like. If you like YouTube, I'm live on YouTube. Shout out to the people over there on YouTube and Instagram, and I'll keep doing that. And I'm gonna tell you what the schedule is gonna be moving forward. I'm traveling early next week, which actually coincides with my ban from TikTok. It was actually a good thing, but we still got more days in this week. Only thing she stood for was abortion. That was down. Yeah, well, it almost worked. She almost won the election on that. So Hawaii 1902 said you came over. All right. IQX came over. All right. Shout out to everybody who came over from TikTok. So some of y'all got the message. Let your friends know that I am over here on IG and also YouTube, and hopefully they'll let me do regular posts over there. Who knows? I think they might kick me off completely soon. So I got to make sure y'all know about that. I got to make sure I'm telling people follow me on other apps, just in case they kick me off one, y'all can catch me on another one. Biden already started fundraising. All those other Dems would have had to start from $0. That's correct. That's a good point. Life and times. That's a very good point. Nicole says Steve Harvey was very good at doing that on his morning show, talking shit about Trump every chance he got. Yeah, well, they pay him to do it. I get why. Jay Masters, what's going on? Good morning, sir. You saw the transition? Yes. There has been a transition. You're right about that. Raquel Rain said Dre 2025. I don't think there's an election in 2025. Hawaii said no man like my dad. That's what's up. Shout out to your dad. Zipper Suit said facts are facts, brother. Yes, they are. And the truth is even better than facts. Surfing Cowboy, what's going on? Said structure, stability, security standards, all raised based purely on leadership. That's right. Correct. A Caladex says, as a Christian, I'm asking myself, how can you base so many of your points on the Bible, but always say you're not a Christian? Because, well, first of all, I believe America was built with Christian principles in mind. And if I was to refer to a religion, I would refer to Christianity. So I'm just using Christianity as a reference point. So that's how. Hawaii said TikTok was doing that to a lot of people yesterday. Okay, so it wasn't just me. Oh, if I knew why, it'd be better. Trump's comeback is more impressive than the 2016 Cavs final run. Well, yes, I think it has bigger stakes. So you're right. Crespo said the truth will set you free. And good, I'm praying for it. You, Dre. Thank you, Crespo. So everybody, I do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. And today is Wednesday. So I will be doing a live tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. Next week, I'm traveling on Monday and Tuesday, so I won't be live, but I'll be back on Wednesday. And next Wednesday, I believe, is the 13th. Let me check the calendar. Yes, next Wednesday is the 13th. So next Wednesday, I'll be unbanned from TikTok, so I can go live again. Last time they banned me, they gave me a 3-day ban. This time they gave me a 7-day ban. So again, I think I'm walking a fine line with TikTok. Next time they ban me, it might be forever. So we got to find out what the hell is going on TikTok. Maybe any of you who's a TikTok expert or you know anything about how TikTok works, and you can help me out figuring out what the hell I did wrong and why they did this, then we'll figure it out. Because TikTok actually has been a good platform for me since I've been using TikTok. But it hasn't been a good platform for me right now, because if they end up kicking me off, then it's pretty much over as far as what I'm doing. My content is doing great on TikTok other than that. And even this post where I told them TikTok kicked me off, I don't think they are allowing this post to be seen. I don't think they're allowing it to get any engagement. I don't know why, but maybe they just aren't showing it. Yeah, this post is not getting any engagement. I think it's because what I said on it is that they kicked me off and I'm on whatever other apps. So we got to figure out what's going on TikTok. Problem is it's hard to reach a person over there. So anyway, I will be live tomorrow, 8 a.m. I will be live Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Then not on the weekend. Monday and Tuesday, I'm traveling. I'll be back to my normal schedule next Wednesday, and hopefully we'll be back on TikTok too. So everybody have a great Monday. Oh yeah, Wednesday. WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. You want to work with me directly, have me as your direct coach, get access to all of our courses, trainings, etc. We got a lot more coming over there. That link is in my bio or in the description wherever you're watching me. Everybody have a great day. We out of here.